Well, let's get things started then. I really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to do this podcast. This is like kind of like the first of maybe potentially many of these. I don't plan to do this like a weekly thing, but I definitely plan to do more of this because it's really fun and insightful. I feel like talking about the state of Black Desert Online, and that's kind of like the title of the podcast, I guess, is the state of BDO. So what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about PvP in the game. What is the current state of player versus player combat? What is the state of PvE in the game? What is the state of the monetization of the game, the gear progression of the game, life skilling? Now, we do have kind of a light life skilling panel here. I don't think really anybody like Grimmkill does life skilling. I don't know Namiko and Hugh how much you guys dabble in life skilling. Me and Jinnaaii really don't do much of it. And then we're also going to talk maybe a little bit about like here and there about the lore of the game in terms of the new region just coming out and tying up some loose ends and stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I feel like the first thing that we should talk about is probably the most pertinent thing, the thing that we all just started to and are currently experiencing, which I guess is the new region release. So the new region release has a bit of a mixture of PvP and PvE content. And I'm very curious about the first impressions that you guys have had of the new region and what you think of it in totality. And we can go deeper into like some rabbit holes here and there, talking about specifics of what you do and don't like. But I guess just kind of what is it that you like and dislike about the new region? I suppose we can just go in order here. So Grim, what's been your thoughts about the new region so far?
The lore and everything was great. The grind spots are very similar and quite boring, honestly.
Okay. So yeah, the grind spots being super similar. I find that that was a bit of a thing that I found about the new region as well. It seems like it all kind of boils down to the same sort of you kill a squishy mob and then you kill packs of squishy mobs until there's an elite. Then you kill the elite, it spawns more squishy mobs, and then you ultimately it leads to a 10 to 12 minute run that results in a boss at the end. It kind of seems like every single grind spot is like exactly the same. Is that what you guys also have been experiencing?
Pretty much. I also don't like that our efficiency is capped based on this like artificial time gain.
Oh, I see
My
what you
point of
mean.
view is a tad
Yeah, like
different on that. I'll go on you first. Please.
yeah, good con.
I was just gonna express like, um, the new region for me has actually been pretty interesting. It's very different to like previous grind spots we've had. Um, in terms of like like tongue grind and stuff like this, where you're expanding around a lot and all this kind of stuff. But I kind of like the like consistent like wave almost kind of approach that it has. And it's like kind of motivated me to grind quite a little bit more. Like I've been really, really, really hammering out grinding since Zidania came out. Before that, I wasn't as interested in grinding, so feels like I don't really know quite how to explain it, but it's feels a little bit different to other grind spots, and for me, that's it's actually kind of interesting. So
Okay. So you actually like these grind spots more than like previous grind spots. Um, I would admit that I think that the grind spots, like for example, Orbita, I feel like Orbita was a very, very cool grind spot that I actually really did enjoy. I know that they changed it around and I haven't been there since the last week's update for Orbita, but I think the main gripe that I have with the grind spots and kind of what Grim was saying is that Orbita feels like a unique grind spot, but Orbita doesn't feel unique to Tannenbaum or Zephyros or the freaking Rushulka or whatever that other grind spell
Infamous.
is called. Yeah, Nymphomare. Like they all kind of all five of them feel like they're ultimately reskins of themselves. So while I would agree that Orbita feels different than any other grind spot in a non-Adonia region, the thing that I kind of I guess and maybe what Grim was feeling too is that every grind spot, like by the when you hit 777 gear score, like you got the gear score for Jordan, the game has turned a lot into more of a theme park MMO where they kind of want you to have a certain amount of AP and DP, and then you go to that next best spot. It seems like that seems to be the intention of where they were going. So for anybody that hits 777 gear score, you're basically in Adonia as is supposed to be your best spots. And the thing that makes that tough is from 777 all the way up to 900 gear score, you're stuck in the same type of grind spot, right? Like all 5 of them are precisely the same.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. I think you mean with like the basically the way it runs out, right? Like you said, where you kill mini mobs and then you kill an elite, and then you have like the AFK phase and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would you personally like to see like some variety? Because one complaint I saw from a lot of people regarding Idania was they're essentially just like tower spots, and people have been really enjoying like Tungrad and Dart Seekers again. Is that like something that you personally enjoy, or is like towards everyone? I guess. Would you rather see more Tungrad-esque spots, or would you rather see more like tower-like spots?
I just want different spots, dude. I don't want the reskin of the same thing.
Yeah. I want to give more people time to talk, right? Like Jinnaaii, Hugh, you guys got to weigh in on what you think of the grind spots too. But like, I feel like variety is the spice of life. I would have loved to have seen a 3-man grind spot in Adonia. I would have loved to see a pack-to-pack grind spot in Adonia. I would have loved to see a tower spot like Orbita. I just feel like 5 of the same tower spot. It could have been so much more variety and really cater to more people. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Jinnaaii? What do you think, Hugh? What are your guys' thoughts on these?
I think tower spot missing is really disappointing. Even KR people I saw, they wanted a tower spot, and we know why they are making a tower spot these days, right? Tower spots, because they cannot balance when there's a pack-to-pack spot. Some classes are super OP, right, on pack-to-pack, because a pack-to-pack spot usually requires maybe pulling skill or a good movement skill.
Yeah.
But not all classes has that. So I don't like it. Not every spots are tower spot, but I can understand it. I can understand it, just. But hopefully they make a better spot soon, like Edania Part 2 and party spots too, because we are missing party spot. That's what I think about Edania grinding spot.
Yeah. So it seems like in KR they were definitely leaning towards wanting more tower spots. That's what you're saying? Like the player base really wanted these types of grinds, and they don't like the pack to pack because of the fact that there is like class differences. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not like a representative of Korea, so I can't say Korean people want it. But that's what I think. That's what I think. Not Korean people.
Yeah.
Even Korean people complaining about all grinding spots are similar, similar mechanic, all tower, boring, Dekia spot again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I totally
it's
understand
not.
that.
Yeah.
Like I know that you're not speaking for everybody in KR, but you are closest information source from like what's being talked about in KR, because you play on the server and you're one of the few English speaking KR streamers, if maybe even the only actually. And so you have some very valuable perspective as to what's being kind of talked about. Do you spend some time like on the Inven Global and like the KR Reddit forums and stuff like that to see what people are talking about, or do you kind of shy away from that type of stuff? Not really interested?
They say I actually check quite a lot.
Okay. So were people
Yeah,
on
and
those
it's not
forums
really
like
good.
what was the general consensus regarding the new grinding in Adonia? Or like what were people mostly saying on those forums about it?
Most people complain because of a bug in KR actually.
Yeah,
Because
there
you
was a lot
guys
of
usually
bugs.
get a better version than KR, and KR
Mhm.
people struggling with a bug. KR people talk about a lot of bug and maintenance about grinding spot. But Sims there isn't big complaint about the grinding spot mechanic. That's what I found out.
Okay, so not a lot of complaints about the mechanics. Do you
Yeah.
find, so like personally, something that I really find a lot of motivation in, and my favorite grind spots throughout the history of Black Desert has always been 3-person to 5 people grind spots. I found my love of grinding a lot more in Sawsons when it first came out, which you would do with 5 people. Then after that, I transitioned into like Pirates. Then I transitioned into Gyphons. Then I did Miramok. Then I did Olins. Like I was always bouncing from group to group spot. And I know that that's not a very popular thing, and most people like their solo gameplay. And from time to time, I mean, I like my solo gameplay as well. But I kind of feel like even with a tower spot design, there's so much opportunity that they could have had to make at least one of these grind spots a tower spot. Like there's pretty much no reason why Tenebrom and Zephyros are the same money, the same exact kind of design, and one of them is not a group spot. Like why would one of them not be a 3-person spot? It's the same grind spot, right?
True.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I miss Power Island, dude.
Yeah, and another thing too that I found, and kind of why a large part of my unhappiness, I guess, with the grind spots is they also don't really feel like they're much more money than prior grind spots. Like the amount of money that I made in Orzekia and the amount of money that I made at Darkseeker's Retreat, and even Golden Pig Cave, the lucky version, I was making roughly 3 to 4 billion an hour at DSR and ores, and now I'm making roughly 3 to 4 billion an hour, despite the fact that I am supposed to be utilizing probably like 4 trillion more silver in gear score, but I'm making the same amount of money at Lava Frogs versus Orzekia. I was also a little bit disappointed with the amount of money that I could earn in the spot. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, the worst thing was that you can make that money at DSR and you can DC and you can live because it doesn't do any damage.
That's true. So there's like a crystal risk element that's not present in DSR for the same amount of money.
It's a lot better XP too. Like the in-game spots in Vidania don't really give that much XP.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
also
think
pretty
it
odd too.
depends.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the money sucks, to be honest. Like, I am clearly disappointed just because of the money, you know? Because even 1 year ago, when I was grinding DK Ash 1, I was making, when Debo was max price, like 3 billion hour. Now at Tenebrum, I'm making 3 billion hour. They give us more gear without the fact that we need like 5 trillion more silver. And why are they even are nerfing us down by nerfing Orbiter? And I don't know, it doesn't even make sense. My opinion kind of split into two here, because it's not just the reason why you go on the grind spot is not just silver, because you also need stuff for your light stones, crystals, the end times. You need to grind the end times. You need to grind the artifact cup, and it's kind of good that they add more reasons to a grind spot that is not just silver, and that gives me kind of a motivation to grind, to go on that grind spot. And I have to gear, I have to reach that AP to get on the grind spot. But the money is very disappointing, and I did expect like at least 5 billion an hour on the best grind spot in Dania, and if it's only 3 billion, it's kind of disappointing. It even gets nerfed. Like, I don't understand. It's not really motivating to grind for silver.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with the new grind spots is the distorted fragments. At the same time as bringing out silent for new players through the Tuvala system. And you can't really do anything with the item, right? So if you've grinded quite a lot, you have the silent fragments, which you can sell. At least in EU, I'm not sure how it is in NA.
Yeah, you
But
can,
the
yeah.
distorted fragments that you have, these are like kind of sat in your inventory, and they're just like potential liquid silver that they could change, right? So
Yeah, I would love to
This is
see
the biggest
the
issue.
ability to take those distorteds and turn them into silence. Like that would make total sense to be able to have a conversion ratio there, because the fact that they're just not useful in any way. And I was also surprised. I really was expecting that maybe they were going to drop the distorted fragments up to Orbita, but then as soon as we get to Tenebomb and Zephyros, I thought it was only going to drop silence. Because
Yeah.
now these end game grind spots that require like legit crazy amounts of gear score, you're dropping a practically useless item here that is useless that you can't even sell. So some type of conversion, or maybe even just like removing them off the drop table in favor of
They
more
should have
silence.
never added
would be a
them
good
to the
idea.
marketplace. Just make them vendor like the Jin Crystal.
Yeah, they definitely could be vendorable. If you make them vendorable, though, they will contribute to inflation in the game. So I mean, there actually is already a lot of inflation that these grind spots provide, since a lot of the money is trash loot and stuff. But overall, I was a little bit disappointed with that. I guess this is a good segue too. What about the actual drop table of these grind spots? We do have new artifacts, and we have new lightstones and new crystals, and those are pretty, good and motivating, and a reason to want to be in Adonia. But I was like rather disappointed that Debarekas were like the primary rare drop. It seems like Debos are very overdone, and the Debos are already in the dumpster. Like, they are going down like crazy, and that's contributing to some other issues we'll talk about later. But I don't know. What did you guys think of the Debos in the drop table?
It's pretty boring, honestly. If I go DSR and I get crazy dopamine, then I go with Dania and it's just
Yeah, I mean, DSR had like some pretty good drop rate, because it was kind of nice to be able to get an origin every now and again. You get 250 mil for the fail stack item, which is something that you could expressly use. Especially when it first came out, like, you got lots of dopamine at DSR.
Yep.
You were getting lots of stuff you needed. You had the pities that you needed for your Kabuas. You had the pities you needed for your armor upgrade. You had the actual rare drops of the fail stacking materials. You had the big drops of the full origin. Like, those were all directly useful to you items. Whereas, I guess as an endgame player, it seems like a large proportion of the drops here are not directly useful to you. It's like you're getting the end times, you're getting the Herald's Crystal, but all the other rare drops are not actually really... They don't feel like anything when you get them, and it feels a little bit unsatisfactory because of that.
Not to
They added
mention
the
DSR.
Devos.
Go ahead.
They added the Devos because there's nothing better to add. I mean, look at the marketplace. Everything else is down min price. You can't sell it anyways. And you get
Yeah.
from everywhere already Devos. You get from Rift Pass Devos, you get from Boss Blitz Devos, you get from, I don't know, almost every grind spot already Devos. Like, I don't know why they did even do this.
Yeah, especially the boss split drops everything what you need in game, right? Silver,
Every player
Devo,
gets like
Crystal,
15 Devos a week, yeah.
Yeah.
Down Essence. Yeah.
Yeah, they for sure just like went crazy on just releasing demos. And that also kind of contributed to the ultimate killing of a lot of grind spots that used to be good for just demos. Like, Crypt of Resting Thought used to be great because demos were high in price and people could go there because they needed Devo belts. Same thing with Ash Forest and Ash Forest 1 and 2, is if you needed Devo next, that's where you needed to go to get those Olins in the earrings. But now I feel like a large proportion of the actual base accessories we're getting from the game are coming from just everywhere and everything. You got Devos from Ataraxian Dungeon, you got Devos from Orzekia, you got Devos from every single Adonian grind spot. Like, now those old grind spots that used to have like a purpose don't really have... They just became useless because they no longer have that purpose. And it just feels like we're just flooded with nothing but Debarekas, and it just feels like it's kind of... It's starting to become like the... You know how you used to cheer for a Spectre's energy? Now it feels like, should I even cheer for a Devo anymore? Like, they're just so common, and they're so cheap. It's just like, it doesn't even feel like anything anymore when it used to be exciting.
True.
They should
I
have
think
never
probably
put
these
Devos
12.
on these spots.
You also get more Devo rings with the limbo change too.
Yeah, it's gonna make it even worse.
Do you guys think that they should have just not added Debos in total, or added like some new item, like some new fail stack item or something like that, that would essentially require you to keep grinding there?
See, now that would have been great. That would have been great.
Most of us wanted an ability to build a 400 stack. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, a new origin that goes from 300 to 400 stacks. That would have been a very relevant endgame change for endgame grind spots. Like, that type of thing would have been incredible. Instead, they added more Devos.
But the problem I have
They
with the
should
Dania
add
grind
in
spot,
general more vendor-related items. so it doesn't impact the marketplace. Has always same sale price. You make the same money in an hour.
The
Otherwise,
problem
after
with
some
that though
time, yeah.
is like Choi said, it adds a lot of inflation to the game. So if everything is just vendorable, then we start earning like large amounts of silver, and because it is not affected by marketplace, you're gonna have like consistent amounts of large silver.
Isn't that what
That's
we
the problem with
want?
it.
We want more silver an hour and not two,
Well,
3
yeah,
billion.
of course. But it's it gets to a point where it gets like a little too much out of hand, and then we have the issue where they then pump up crons again, and then we have very upset players. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just I guess my main gripe, it's just we to summarize these grind spots a little bit, is just it felt like because the grind spots were so similar, it left a lot of opportunity for them to innovate a little bit in making at least one of these a group spot or a couple of group spots or do something that wasn't just so cookie cutter. And I guess the doom that I feel is just that because they want us to be in these grind spots, and I think that their intent is to make it where once you get a certain gear score, you're supposed to move up to the next spot. I feel like this despair of like as an end game player, as soon as you hit 777 gear score, you're just stuck in the same types of grind, and there's no opportunity to change grinds. Whereas, let's say that you're a 700 gear score player. A 700 gear score player has such great options in where to grind. Like you've got pack to pack spots, you've got Dekia spots, you've got Elvia spots, you've got Pig Cave you can go do, you've got just lots of variety in different types of grinds. Whereas ultimately it feels like a punishment having higher gear score, because now you just go from the endless variety of enjoyable grind spots to the never ending despair of clearing towers and no groups. Like that's really where my gripe comes from. I don't think that each individual grind spot here is bad, but I think that as a pairing, if all 5 of these are the same, it becomes bad because of that.
Yeah, that's valid.
I agree with you.
Okay.
yeah, I guess our hope is for Dane Part 2, I guess, to
Yeah.
give some kind of creative direction in that manner.
I do have one more point to bring up about Adania grinding before we wrap up.
Yep.
So you can make comparable money at DSR just like you do in Adania, but the thing with DSR is you have 0 risk, and you can even run the choice and focused lightstone set, which gives you 30% drop rate, and you still have the AP cap. And if there's a event of some kind, like now, you can swap out for Vicious Shadows for more clear speed, or you can get the 500% combat XP set. It just makes DSR just seem like just such a better option.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's something that I don't think that PA was really considering, is that that Lightstone set that lowers your AP by like 200. It ultimately doesn't matter when the AP cap is 5%, like past the cap,
Yeah.
right? So that just makes those grind spots so much more lucrative whenever you're not reaching the 300% otherwise. Because that means
Right.
that these grind spots at least have to be 30% better than DSR at a minimum, or else, well, maybe not exactly 30%, but they at least need to be considerably better, considering that you're just going to have more than 30% extra drop rate just because. That's a very good point.
Currently now, I can do DSR cap drop rate with only a 10 buff, without any events.
Mm-hmm.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Okay.
I have another interesting point, because I'm more like a group related player, and it's super sad that group spots are kind of dying in this game. They're not even adding new group spots, and I would wish, to be honest, some group grind spots in the future in Edania somewhere. I don't know. It's just so sad that you can't really grind with like friends or guildmates or partner. Like, I don't know. It kind of, group spots, like what I really like on group spots is that it gives me another reason to have more motivation and grind.
Yeah. So an
Yeah.
idea that I've had for group grind spots, and especially, Hugh was mentioning that a lot of the reason why these grind spots of towers are starting to exist is due to class differences and them trying to normalize how much money people can make in PV. And I get that, and that's fair. It's completely right. However, I would also say that it gives a very, very good opportunity for Pearl Abyss to implement a scalable grind spot system. I think that it would be really cool if, let's say I'm grinding here at Zephyros Castle, if I have a second person in my party and we activate 2-player grinding, how easy would it be to just make the mobs twice as tanky and make them drop 2 times loot for 1 person each? And just make these
I mean, they
grind
did the
spots scale.
same with the scrolls too, you know?
Right, they did that with, exactly, they did that with Relic Scrolls, they did that with the other Ojaxia Scrolls. Like, the number of scrolls that you put in scales up the monsters. So if they start to make nothing but these tower spots, you could make these tower spots go from 1 to 2 to 3 all the way up to 5-person grind spots very, very easily by implementing some type of a scalable system. And I think that that would be the perfect way to bridge the gap between what PvE players want, that like group content, and what PvP or PvE players that like solo content. Like, you just make it.
That'd be
both.
sick.
I think that's
They're
really
never
good.
gonna do that. It's such a good idea, but they're never gonna do that. I think they're just lazy, honestly,
The
to
reason they
develop
can't
something
do
like
that
that.
is they can balance it, right? Orbita, they fix 4 weeks in a row. And if they
Since
make
when
a
is
few
something
running
balanced in this game? I mean, they try to balance, and by their balance, they just create a new meta. They're not balancing anything in this game.
So, do you think that it would be hard to balance a 5-man grind spot like that, Hugh?
Of course, they don't even balance Orbita for 1 month, right? They fix Orbita still. There's still fixing so many grinding spots in Edania still, and that's why KR people are really mad about it. And we are getting extension, emergency maintenance every week to fix bug and balance something. And if they scale grinding spot like a level 1 to level 5, I think it will make a huge bug or balance problem. But I think I like that idea if that is possible.
It doesn't really seem like, on paper, it seems like a not very complicated system. And I think that going through the growing pains of trying to figure out technologically how they can do it would be worth it, because that just means that you can provide so much more satisfaction to a lot of players that have really been just missing out on group content. That's something that's really prevented a lot of people, in my mind, from playing Black Desert, is just a sheer lack of group content in the game. But if they could create a system that allowed tower spots to scale with number of players, that would just open the doors for a lot of friend groups to start playing BDO, and a lot of people get more hooked on the social aspect of this game than the lonely grinding lava frogs for 1,000 aspect of the game, right? Like, I think that it'd be worth for them to look into that, specifically since we have so many tower spots and the future of the game appears to be tower spots just based on balancing, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
really agree.
let's talk about some other aspects of Edania. Specifically, let's go with like the bosses themselves. Now, I'll lead by saying I'm a little bit disappointed with the difficulty of the bosses. I guess that's all I'm going to say, is I feel a little bit disappointed by the difficulty. What are your guys' thoughts on Enslar and Kafris and all these other bosses? Like, what were you guys' perception?
Do you want to make it so we go like across, I guess? Like Grim, Hugh, myself, and Jinnaaii?
Yeah, sure, we
Make
could.
sure we get everyone.
We could do that for sure. Yep. So, Grim, what was your perception of these bosses? How did you feel about them?
Well, do you remember when we had the main story in Adraxia, where it was actually kind of difficult to do the main story? I would have liked to have seen that in Edania, where the bosses were actually a challenge, but obviously not too hard. They were like around the gear you would be entering Edania. But it's very disappointing to have these very like important, inspiring characters to just be flicked and fall over. It's very
Yeah, like important in the lore of the game.
Oh, absolutely. Like Kafris is supposed to be just the shit, but he's just shit.
So something that I've heard that a point that a lot of people have made, and a point that I've heard prevailing from a lot of sources, is actually if these bosses were too hard, then that would mean that players would have to do this weekly thing that they were going to struggle with every week because it's required for gear progression. Is there like a way that that could be overcome though? Like how could you overcome those bosses being too difficult versus like being required for gear progression?
I mean, you just have scaling difficulties, right? You have a normal mode, which is just you want your piece of Adana, GG's. But if you want like actual rewards, then there's a hard mode, just like how they did Goyen in the Magnus.
Okay. So you're saying basically make the current version of the bosses drop, say, let's just use Caphras as the example. Let's say the current version of Caphras drops 5 pieces of Adana, but if you wanted to get both rewards and the 5 pieces of Adana, you could do like a hard mode version that makes it actually difficult. Like kind of
Absolutely. Makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, because you definitely need difficult content to be rewarded, or else, like MMO players, maybe this is my own projection, but I find that sometimes my enjoyment of content has everything to do with whether or not I perceive it as efficient. I don't enjoy actively wasting my time. And so if something is worth to do, it feels rewarding to do. And so if they just made like a hard version of the boss just so you could kill it and say, haha, I killed the hard version of the boss, that wouldn't be nearly good enough. I think that there has to be a reason that you're going and trying and putting in multiple attempts and spending the billions of silver in lost time you could have been grinding or in resources to utilize in order to lose all your perfumes every attempt. Like I would love to see that difficulty scaled up on these bosses hardcore for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you're doing the boss as your weekly boss, they're even not that difficult. It'd be nice to have a hard mode version of those too.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Hugh? What are your thoughts on these bosses? Oh, he's muted. You are muted right now, Hugh. If you didn't know.
Oh, sorry. Personally, I don't like bosses a lot.
Okay.
And because it wasn't boss game, right? If you played this game quite a lot, there was no bosses in this game, right? For almost like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
After Land of the Morning Light, they tried to push us to play boss, and it was buggy and it wasn't well balanced for many months, right? So I wish that they make a more option, not other than bosses, because a boss is like gated and feels like homework now. You have to play that every week.
Yeah. I actually
Little
do
disappointed.
agree with you on that. I'm really not a big fan of weekly lockout content, but I also will say that I think that these bosses could have been a lot more they could have been a lot more streamlined to be something that's repeatable. There is actually a lot of games where you can go and
True.
kill bosses over and over and over again, and as you get better at them and more efficient at them, you can make solid money and potentially competitive, or maybe even if you're really good, better money than what you would make grinding. But the thing is that they're accessible and they're farmable, and it's just like another version of PvE, where instead of it just killing waves of monsters, you're actually having to fight one opponent. And I would like that approach more to bosses, because I would agree that doing my Sangoons and doing all this other stuff, it does feel like homework, especially when it becomes easy. But yeah, I just like the weekly lockout thing. I wish I would have scaled it better. And this was when Land of the Morning Light came out. The first Land of the Morning Light came out. You have no idea. I was so vocal about the fact that these bosses should be repeatable. Like the fact that they ever came out as a weekly boss, they needed to be so much more repeatable and be something that you can farm and a alternative to grinding. And I don't know, they never really went that route because I feel like they were just too busy being Lost Ark. Something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're just copying, following the meta. Like all the MMOs are based on dungeon or bosses, right? I think they're just following the meta, global meta, like all just like other MMORPGs now, and losing their identity. That's what I feel.
Yeah. What would you say Black Desert's identity is?
Open world and not many limited content like bosses and grinding. That's what they are good at it, right? And bosses, this game never made for bosses. From what I know, many KR people wanted dungeons at first when BDO first released like 8 years ago, 10 years ago. But they said they have no plan to make dungeon, no plan to make bosses. But at some point they made it, right?
Yep.
So it was never made for that content, and they're pushing us to play that content, and that's why it isn't that much fun to play compared to other games. Boss content, only boss content, not that fun to play compared to other games. Boss content. Wait for reworked only, right? Reworked. I'm pretty sure not many people started this game for bosses and having fun with the bosses.
So you said that BDO is like open world and BDO is like more of a grinding game. Maybe this could be like, does anybody have any more comments about these bosses? Namiko, did you want to talk about it? Jinnaaii, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I can input. I see my opinion is a little bit different because I actually enjoy the idea of weekly content. Like I enjoy grouping with like my friends for like you clear the bosses and stuff like this. The same as if I was like mythic raiding in like World of Warcraft or something like that. You meet up with your members in the guild and then you clear the content for the week and then you're pretty much done, right? And that's like how I've kind of had MMOs over the years. That's like how I've kind of got used to it. It's a very different approach. Like Hugh said, it's not something that Pearl Abyss has kind of designed Black Desert around originally. But I think because of the way of how the player base is like kind of developing, because the player base now is very different to the player base that we had when like the game first came out, right? Like we can look at this in terms of like open world content. Like a lot of the time before, like I know myself, I used to like love open world like PvP and interactions in the open world and stuff like that, but more so it's I've like kind of itched across closer to like instance based content and things like this. So I don't know if it's just like a personal thing for me as I've changed, as I more have played the game, or if it's just the direction that PA's taken. It's kind of like like pigeonholing us in a certain way because of the way the content's being created, or if it's just the way that the community is kind of like developed over time, like over the last few years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
True.
I think that weekly content also kind of serves a purpose in that if it is better than anything you could do with your time, it is a sort of a catch-up mechanic for people that have less time to actually play the game. So that is fair.
Yeah.
Good morning, Verdict.
Hello there, Verdict.
Hello.
Whoops.
No problem. You haven't missed very much. We're just actually talking about... I'll catch you up to speed here. So far we talked about the grind spots in Adonia, and we're just talking about the bosses in Adonia regarding their difficulty, as well as whether or not like weekly bosses are kind of like a chore or not, or whether they're good for the game, or kind of just surrounding that topic.
Yeah, honestly, I find them very boring. Meanwhile, even the Idania bosses, they feel so outdated, even though they just came out. But the problem is, once you reach the gear goal for these bosses and you do them, you kind of start skipping mechanics, because the thing is that they're not like, as Trey said already, they're not very hard anymore, like you do them and then you do them, takes like 2 minutes to do them. I don't know, all you need is just you damage them and you don't have to learn any mechanics when you do these bosses. Another thing too is I find the loot of these bosses, they're supposed to be kings and queens of castles. Why is the loot so bad? Like, is it just me? Like, I find the loot so bad compared to the fact that these are kings and queens of the castles in Idana. It sounds big, but the bosses itself is not big. Another thing too is, since they changed the whole AP, monster AP, how it calculates, and the offhand, you do dungeons, and the dungeons are not even worth to do, to be honest. But me and Triz, we cannot do them anyways, because we enjoy group content. It's kind of the only group content that we have left in this game. But we don't do it for the money, because the money is so bad. You get base Bazi for a run that takes like, I don't know, like 40 minutes when you do all dungeons, or 30 minutes. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The rewards definitely
You skip all
didn't really
mechanics
scale.
there, rewards are bad, and there's no boss anymore in this game. It seems like anywhere competitive. Even Sangoon, people losing Sangoon C10 meanwhile in 2 minutes.
It's not very uncommon for video games and MMOs that have bossing to ultimately have much easier content to complete over time. But normally that's because they replace it with something else. Like normally there is a Act 2 of a certain update, and it maybe made the Act 1 bosses much easier, but there's also new Act 2 bosses. And BDO, it kind of has the issue with bossing where every time they've ever made anything difficult to do, they have never made the rewards good enough, and less people do it because the rewards are not very good. And then it almost feels like PA is judging like, oh man, we made Depose Crown Prince, and there's only 100 people in the entire world that ever did it, and people must just hate doing difficult bosses. But in reality, Depose Crown Prince was as easy as a freaking Uturi that dies in 2 minutes. So why would anybody go through the trials and tribulations and efforts to kill a more difficult boss if the reward didn't match the effort required? And the reward really, especially the time. If a difficult piece of content takes 12 hours for you to learn and complete your first kill, that boss should pay itself back in the weeks to come. It should be worth like 1 billion or 2 billion more than the second easiest, the next highest boss. If that next highest boss falls over in 2 minutes and takes you one YouTube guide to watch in order to be able to beat it, like difficulty has to be rewarded if they're going to make these bosses more difficult. But I think that there should be an accessible version of all these bosses, but I really crave a difficult version where the rewards make sense for the people that want that type of content. If they're going to make it anyway, why make these bosses such a pushover?
Absolutely.
And I also don't think that
There
it's
is-
that hard to scale that. Like, just make it do more damage and maybe have a couple more mechanics. Like, wouldn't be that bad.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's there are issues with, I would say, Idania's requirements definitely do not match the difficulty, but at the same time, you know, Prolobis. Okay, let me just rewind back. About a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I spoke how precisely they're going to do what they're doing right now. They're going to put on the 5% AP caps. They're going to be introducing this do a spot, reach the cap. Once you reach the cap, move to the new spot because it's going to be new money. Essentially, they're going through a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 process of grinding spot instead of, hey, I just graduated to Vala, got all of the black stars, got everything, and with a little bit of effort, I could go DSR. You know, with that is never fun to have sit in one spot. I'm not sure what precisely they're trying to do with Idania literally requiring so much gear score, and then you just finish the boss in no time. And usually, when you see something like this, there's something more planned, and it's just that there is no reason to introduce it right now. I promise you that probably when part 2 reaches out, because of the nature of part 1, they might introduce a harder version similar to Calamity Shrines. You know, when we have C7 peak, then they put C10 and the rest of that stuff. But, you know, Pearl Abyss are not really dumb. They kind of see that the only reason people do C10 is because of the buffs in C7 and all of the other things. So it's not the fun of the content itself. It's not the fun of, it's the necessity of. You know, we're BDO players. We measure everything in how much time it requires for it to be completed, and then how much silver that would be giving us. Like we do everything onto the premise of how much time does it take.
Yeah.
And yes, bosses are ridiculously easy, but personally, you know, it doesn't bother me despite the fact that I can still do only Jordan. So I'm not sure why. It just I don't think of them as the prime content. They're just an extra to Idania, which is very weird considering the setup. I'm totally with you guys.
Well, the prime content, right? The part of the conversation that you had missed here is talking about the actual grind spots themselves. And there was a big issue that many of us were kind of taking with, like, yes, the new grind spots are actually kind of interesting compared to what we had in old grind spots, but they all relatively feel pretty much the same, right? They kind of feel like they all have this tower-esque grind. You kill a bunch of squishies, you kill a couple of elites, and then you kill a boss at the end. So a lot of these grind spots feel very similar in that. So if the premier content for this region was the grind spots, like, why are all the grind spots the same? And also, there's just like differences in what players are interested in. I still feel like even if the bosses aren't a focal point in what they wanted the content to be, it does not take much for them to. They create incredibly good animations. They create incredibly good bosses. They're really cool in their design, but then they just fall flat in that the bosses are so incredibly squishy. They don't have any sort of mechanics that require you to dodge or you die. They're just all very much they're just so super watered down bosses that could easily have a hard mode version that would make that content actually good. And all you'd have to do is just scale the rewards and scale the difficulty. Like, it's a very low hanging fruit that I feel like even if it's not a focal point, they really should just utilize. And to the point that you were saying too about like PA having the like a more fuller picture, it is true. Whenever a new region releases, it's very oftentimes filled with a bunch of dead content on day one. And that's kind of a Pearl Abyss problem in my mind because they should really plan better in regards to their content releases. Like the fact that Land of the Morning Light 1 comes out and all it was a quest line. It was a it was a getting the adventure journals done. You would explore a couple new nodes and stuff. You do your boss split stories. It was until like way after the fact that they ended up adding in like grinding spots and real reasons for people to want to be in that region. But a lot of the time you start a new region, you just end up leaving the region within 1 week because there's nothing left to do. So to PA's credit, like there is at least stuff to do past a week in Adonia, but there could be more based on the work that they've done with the bosses. Very easily. Okay, so one other thing that I wanted to talk about lore-wise, I guess, because now you're here, Verdict, something that Grim mentioned briefly. It's actually just, it's almost shameful of Pearl Abyss to create such easy bosses when these are such prominent figures in lore. Like the fact that Caphras, I don't know the lore of Caphras, but Caphras is supposed to be this mega guy, and people are literally going and they're wiping the floor with him. Like, does that even... That is the reason why I personally can never get behind lore and quest lines, is that I want gameplay in a video game to match the actual storyline. If you tell me that somebody is a big bad wolf, but it turns out to be just a little freaking kitten, I'm never going to take any words you say seriously, because if you tell me that this is supposed to be this incredible being that's supposed to be some god that transcends all gods and the most powerful guy in the realm, and he dies faster than his cutscene animation, like, what are we talking about here? Like, why would I... Right, so I feel like the Pearl Abyss owes it to even the people that really are invested in the lore to make actual prominent figures in both gameplay and in storytelling. Would you agree in that a little bit?
Yes and okay, time to get hot here. Yes and no. There is a very solid reason for which in the storylines we're wiping the floor with them. My big question is, because I haven't caught up truly with Caphras. Has anyone killed Caphras? Like Caphras onto the gear score level requirement?
Yeah.
They've already killed him?
Oh yeah, people have the gear.
Sorry.
People have the gear for Caphras, yeah.
All right,
Yeah, two in
and
our region, I think.
nice. Okay, that's freaking good. And what did the guys say? That it's just ridiculously easy, or?
There's no guides on
Oh.
YouTube. Like the
Yeah,
fact
but
that I don't know. Did anyone watch Leduc do it? Like,
Nope.
it was easy as fuck. Leduc's in the chat. He said it was easy as fuck.
So there's a two thing. I do agree with the statement of why is it so easy, and I'm not saying that there's necessarily a lore reason for it, but our little fella Black Spirit here is a very big, Nippo baby type of topic conversation. Inside the mythos, this guy is unreasonably OP, and
Okay, hold on. Who's Mythos
it's
here?
the mythos of the game, like the mythos, the setting, the
Oh.
entire thing. Just
Okay.
using that as a
Yep,
as
yep,
a
yep.
as a word. So it's obviously shameful to make bosses so easy. And as I said, we're gonna travel back earlier to what I said. What is the requirement considering the boss is so freaking easy? But then again, the idea of Pearl Abyss right now is kind of unknown on that. But in lore, if we're gonna literally just take in lore, we're not just overpowered. We are the overpowered of the overpowered. So yeah, those guys are literally what is underneath us. In fact, but I'm not gonna say that I'm using this as an argument for Pearl Abyss to not make good content. Let's be honest here. It's just that
So we as a player are in lore supposed to be this overpowered?
we are not just supposed to be overpowered. In fact, Korean games, they do this all the time. There is a time skip and there is a topic of lost memories. This is how they always like to approach games. It happens all the time. It's what these guys enjoy doing. And we are indeed unreasonably OP. It's just not even fun. Gods are not capable of getting to us. This is how OP we are. And the track here is to understand what happened and how precisely we ended up being which we are. And the King of Idana is precisely that little moment, truly. And it's someone in chat said solo type leveling shit, and I 100% agree with that. It's precisely that. It's how the hell do you get so OP, and then you go and you meet all of those characters, and they fall, while in reality they can bring destruction towards the entirety of the world. And then you get the big finale where you understand what you are. And, that is typically how those stories progress. But I agree with you 100%, with the exception of Jordine, because Jordine is just, he is so unreasonably redundant. Jordine's been with us since 10 years. First moment in the game, when you step out, you get to see him in 2016. And yeah, but when I heard, because Grim, you're doing Rusalka all the time, right? I think.
Oh yeah, it's boring. It's easy.
Yeah,
Boring.
when I heard Rusalka is boring, that's kind of upset me a little bit because I've been super excited about those characters in lore and seeing the gameplay not reflect into the epicness of them.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel weird. Truly.
Also, don't forget, we actually lost to Caphras.
Oh yeah, by the way. Oh yeah. That's one of the things. In lore, we lost to Caphras. He whooped our ass. And the only reason we defeat Caphras, and that is, you only know this if you know the lore, is because Caphras decided to submit. So this is one of the epicness of him as a character. Yeah.
Okay. So something that I think is like I guess it makes sense. Like it makes sense that why everything is so easy now. I guess if it's going off the lore, but I also feel like for a video game, I don't think you should choose your updates, your gameplay updates, personally, based upon like this lore, like this made up thing in the game. If something is fun to play, something is fun to play. And even if we are the most powerful beings and we're 10,000 times stronger than anything, I still think that we deserve a good, challenging boss fight, right? And I think that it's such a low-hanging fruit. If you're going to design these bosses with all these mechanics, I'm just asking for scaled-up rewards and a difficulty that matches what these bosses are supposed to be. Make the cutscene epicness match the actual gameplay. Like that is just one thing that I will always be disappointed in. And you know what? If you could make, and it's the same thing with these quest lines as well. Like this is Adania, this is an endgame grind spot. If I did the full main quest line and the gameplay does not match the words, and so therefore I don't care about the words. How come there's you start a quest line and it's like, oh, defeat these particular mobs before proceeding to the next area, and all I'm doing is trying my hardest to throw out abilities as fast as I can just to get through this annoying part of the scene. Because imagine you actually had some difficult PvE in front of you where you actually have to try and, kill a pack of bandits or kill what, I don't remember what exactly you were killing, but you have to kill whatever you're killing, and it's actually something challenging or there's like a sequence of events that has to occur in order for you to actually complete the quest, and not just the monotony of just like, I can't kill these fast enough because I'm just trying to spam R to get through this stuff. Like, if the gameplay actually was entertaining and good and a unique experience, I wouldn't feel like quests were a chore, and maybe I would actually care to read what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. But the thing is that all it is it's just you spam R and you go to the next auto path, and you spam R and you go to the next
Do we
auto
talk
path.
about bosses or we talk about quests now?
Yeah, like, well, both. Like, I just everything leading up to the bosses and the quests are just so ridiculously easy.
One thing I really hated in the Idania main quest line is the problem is like I did it right, and like as you said, there was like many times a cutscene where I have to defeat monsters, and I do one skill that all die one shot. You know, like.
Yeah, like, what
And
is
I
that?
think
What
it doesn't
value
even
does that
matter.
add?
I
What-
think it doesn't even matter with what gear you do it. Even if when you do it to Valor gear, they won't die one shot anyways.
It adds no value for them to add those types of quests and those types of requirements in a quest line. Like,
There
what?
were
Do you
so
think,
many of them.
Do you think that we're in the minority when it comes to wanting more difficult content, or do you think the average casual player actually wants more difficult content in the game?
Can I please comment on this, because
I wondered
this
about.
is something that I really mean. It's you cannot. Here's the thing: BDO is supposed to be, at least now, what Prolib is, especially after the story reworks. It's supposed to be an accessible, coherent piece. You should be able to go from, progressing from level 1 and starting and playing, and then going 56 awakening, and then getting to 60 naturally through the quests and everything. You should be able to have access from start to finish up so that you have a story.
Yeah.
I remember how upset I was when Odilita released, and the moment you got to the Tunkuta part, there was a gear score requirement for it. And at the time, my girlfriend at the time, so this is like 5 years ago or whatever it was, we couldn't do it together because she didn't have a gear score. That was something so upsetting to me. And I was like, she was fresh and we just wanted to do the story. And this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't think at any particular point we should have something within quests of difficulty that is supposed to have a meaning past the story. And speaking of the story, just to add a little bit of context, because I understand barely anybody cares about the lore, because the game didn't start with the idea of lore being at the forefront of things. That slowly evolved, and the player didn't truly still give a crap about it, even despite the fact, I know the people who do the hiring of the voice actors, and I've even spoken to them. They put so much passion behind that. And Black Desert Online has moved away from the sandbox. I'm not sure if you guys truly agree with that, but the last surviving bit of the sandbox environment within this game is its lore, because it's still being told from a sandbox environment perspective. And let me just elaborate on that just once more. When you get inside a sandbox and Black Desert Online, people criticize that the storytelling is horrid or there is no storytelling. Like, in order for you to figure out what's going on in BDO, you got to play Sherlock Holmes. That's just the way you're supposed to figure this thing out. You go into the sandbox and you find, oh, look at this, there's a rusty spoon. If there's a rusty spoon, maybe there is a rusty fork somewhere. Okay, so it's a rusty spoon, rusty fork, somebody ate here. Now who ate here? And then you proceed to have this conversation and you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. This is how it's simply told. But I don't agree with, being annoyed at the fact that we, as Namiko said, are a minority, and we just want a difficult boss fight. Maybe. Let's jump to another game, World of Warcraft, real quick. They had this issue, and what they did was they had maximum damage that you can deal to bosses or to brand new release quests, NPCs, etc., so you don't end up storming through by being over prepared from past content, which, let's be honest, in BDO we always do. We just 1 trillion silver, let's go enhance, finish the content within the day on release. And Idania is just not that. But yeah. Sorry to take too much long.
No, you don't have to be sorry about that. No, what you said makes a lot of sense. I am always of the opinion, though, that if you're going to make a piece of content, I always think about it from a point of view of me as a player that the money that I spend, the money that we all spend, the millions of dollars that we all spent cumulatively as a community, if something something is unrepeatable, if something is unrepeatable, you should try and make it for as many people as possible. And there is a lot of opportunity for PA. If you are wanting a version that is all about the storytelling, there should be a cinematic or whatever the word is mode for quests where you can go through and you can experience it like a novel. You can go and experience it like a movie. You don't need to have gear score requirements. You don't need to have difficulty. You don't have to need to have anything like that. And if that's the prevailing way that people want to enjoy that content, then they should be allowed to. But at the same time, if you're going to spend millions of dollars on the development of bosses and the millions of dollars on the development of like these different types of quest lines and the gameplay is shoddy, well, you were so close. You've already put in all the assets. You already put in all the animations. You already put in all the storytelling. You already put in all the everything. You could 100% have made something difficult for the players that already play the game and already have a very progressed account or already know what they're doing. Like, quests shouldn't be only for new players, and they should be for new players. The storytelling should be for new players, but there should also be that second effort made to have an actual enjoyable experience for the people that already play the game. And I don't think that it would cost them that much more time or money to implement a second difficulty and have the whole like, you know, Minecraft whatever immortal mode versus actual survival mode where you're playing the actual game in a difficult way. So I guess that's my gripe with to circle back to these Adonia monsters is that yes, I think that everybody should have access to getting their crystals and getting their armors in order to enhance them, right? Everybody should have access to be able to get Adana gear, but people that go out of their way to learn how to fight a very difficult version of a boss should be rewarded monetarily, not maybe with stuff you can't buy, but at least make it where it's like, oh, that was a really cool Kaffir's fight. It took me 12 hours of attempts to actually do it, and now I can do the difficult version every week. So not only can I get my 5 Adana stones, I can also make 5 billion silver every week doing this boss or whatever the proper amount is. But the point is that you've already gone through 90% of the work. Now you just need to scale it properly. And they just stop short every time when it comes to making really good endgame content.
I agree with the segment regarding bosses, but I think when it comes to questing, I think difficulty in questing is kind of a standard thing across MMOs. And when you get like the story mode, the normal, the hard mode, it's more of like a single player-esque kind of game approach. But when it comes to bosses, we can look at other games, other MMOs where you have your entry level. We can take like stuff like World of Warcraft. It's been exampled multiple times. You have your Raid Finder entrance, which is basically the bosses don't fight back. And then you have the normal, the heroic, and then the mythic. And the mythic is for like a very small percentage of the player base. So something like that where they have the boss available would be nice to see potential, more difficult versions of it where it is for that very small percent player base. And then, you have decreasing difficulties based on the ability of the player or how far they want to push themselves and stuff like that. I think that would be very good.
Yeah, and
just
we
overall.
already have that too. We have Calamity 1 through 10 on Land of the Morning Light bosses. They could make a Calamity 1 through 10 on these bosses in Adonia too. I think the one thing that should stay the same though is that because it's so locked behind progression, your Adana crystal things to upgrade your armor should be at the same rate regardless if you do Calamity 1 or 10, but it's the other rewards that should probably be scaled up much more significantly for people that go out of their way.
I completely agree.
And-
They just it's incentive through silver rather than through materials.
Yeah.
Just to build on Namiko's point, because it's a perfectly reasonable point, but also the way Blizzard release content is they're gonna release normals and heroics at the same time. And then the moment they unlock Mythic, which is like the hardest possible variation, typically first boss is being cleared by everyone barely without any fight. Like that's how it goes. And then they're going to start releasing the easy story mode where bosses don't fight. What I'm trying to build from this is that we are still early into Edania Part 1. And it's like most definitely, I cannot imagine Pearl Abyss not making difficult bosses. I just cannot imagine them not putting a hard mode Kaffir's. And they will, and it's going to be probably absolutely savage. But here's the thing. Do you guys agree that a Calamity 7 release of bosses being ready from the get-go with all of the auras similar to Idania is a better thing to have than have gate-kept content such as this? I'm saying this because I am world first Mystic on Songakshi, Calamity 7. And it really, as you said, Choice, it took me 12 hours. I have this on stream. I literally wiped on 0.1%. I couldn't even see the bar. And it's super fun to have those. But then again, that's me. Nobody else gave a crap to try it. So it's like, where do we find the balance,
Well, I guess maybe that leads into our next topic here, so we can kind of keep moving on, and that is gear progression. So I personally feel a sense of like lostness when it comes to my gear progression, and those types of difficult boss encounters make this game feel like it's worth it to get more gear. Because when that new content comes out, that difficult Calamity 10 Gumiho came out, I had the AP required to go do Gumiho just barely. Or I have the AP required to go do these difficult encounters, and I can experience the new content when it first comes out, and it was challenging. And if all we have right now is watered down PvE content, because there's nothing in this game at all, PvE wise, that is difficult to do. All we have is Depose Crown Prince. We just killed it in 8 minutes, first try, didn't break a sweat 2 days ago. Like the thing is, there's nothing actually that challenging in PvE anymore. And so when I think about this, I think, that feels very it feels bad knowing that getting a lot of gear score only unlocks more comfort in killing lava frogs. Like that's all I can do.
True.
I can just kill Zephyros. That's all I can do. There's nothing that more gear is doing for me at all. New alchemy stone drops this month. Lava frogs. The new I get an upgrade on my Adania armor. Lava frogs. Like we're just killing Zephyros. That's all we're doing. Like at least these types of difficult encounters are like, oh man, at least getting it makes that very difficult encounter a lot more enjoyable or potentially slightly easier because of getting those gear gains. But the point is that it's actually providing a tangible benefit in that something is actually hard to do, and this gear is actually making it more easy to do because of the existence of it. And so that's like motivating. And my motivator was uncapped PvP, and it still is very much to this point uncapped PvP, but there could be that PvE element. In fact, for a short time, there was that PvE element. I was looking forward to hitting Nov on my Sovereign because I'm like, oh, we're going to be doing so much more damage to the Post Crown Prince. Maybe we're actually going to be able to clear it with 4 people in the final phase instead of 3 or instead of 5. And then now it's just down to the fact that 2 people can do the final phase because everybody has so much AP now. And there's nothing that's scaled with the difficulty of that boss. And I just fear that there's that what was supposed to be, which were these new bosses, just never ultimately ended up being difficult at all. So now it's just like we have nothing for difficult PvE.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so like let's transition into like gear progression here. So how do you guys feel about the gear progression in the game? Like, do you guys feel motivated to get more gear? And if so, what's your motivation?
I am.
I can go with this as well because I've like kind of just recently returned back to the game, and I'm kind of like quite far behind in terms of gear. The Idana for me, like the new grind spots and stuff like that, and all the additional things. I think as Jinnaaii said earlier, like the the side upgrades, like your hands, your artifacts, your amplified, all these kind of things. All this was like a pretty big motivator for me to try to get back into the game. So the only thing is with the gear progression is I think because of the way it currently is, like that you mentioned earlier with like Debo price right now, being like the worst it's like ever been. This is enabling like people to purchase Karazads and stuff like this, which gives them big like spikes of gear progression. But then I'm a tad worried right now that people might be hitting this like soft cap wall, well this like hard cap wall, maybe however you want to view it, depending on the player, where they've gained these like large amounts of progression and now they've got to get these sovereign weapons up. And right now, sovereign weapons with the current state of them, you could even argue potentially Tet armor for people coming back to the game as well, is kind of in a rough situation right now because the Boricas are so accessible, and the state of armors and sovereign weapons themselves are just not as accessible.
Yeah. I would agree. There's definitely a huge flaw going on with the actual gear progression of the game regarding like sovereigns and armors and Karazods. Um, we can definitely talk deeper about that, but I'm also just mostly focused on for this part of the gear progression thing is just, do you feel like you are feeling motivated to get that more gear? Like you're looking forward to just unlocking the new grind spot content? Like, do you think that a lot of players feel motivated with like getting more gear score right now because it feels like it unlocks valuable content for them?
If it's a PvE player, I think that there is motivation initially for when you see the new grind spots and you're like, oh, this is a pretty nice grind spot. But I think circling back around to what you said before, where realistically the grind spots are very like similar in Adania. But for me personally, it's PvP focused. So, but a PvE player, I can definitely see being in a situation where, they've gone from Jordan, like you said, they've gone through the Naga spot, they've gone through Orbita, and then it's like a very similar trend kind of thing. So it might be not as motivating for them. But I only can speak from my own point of view, which is because I'm motivated for PvP wise. So.
Okay. What do you think, Hugh and Jinnaaii? You guys haven't really commented too much yet on the gear progression side here. What do you guys feel gear progression wise?
Yeah, there's a definitely a problem because even I saw many players are complaining about it. There's no content to play, even if you have good gear. It's just like what you are saying, a lot more lava frog or same bosses over and over. But that's, I think, a very like a few endgame players problem because most people don't even have Nove, right? Don't even have Nove, and right now, I think gear progression problem happened because a game became too much pay to win. Pay to win is more efficient than before. Many people swipe, even in KR, they swipe a lot, and they got good gear and game gear in day one.
Yeah.
First month, something like that. So I think that made gear progression happen. And for end game players, not only just a mid game or beginner players, you have to prepare some content to compensate them. They swipe money or they spend money or they were super lucky, right? I think they have to prepare some content, more challengeable grinding spot or some interesting boss, not same boss, or something to upgrade the new, maybe new gear. It's definitely not motivating as a super end game gear.
What is it that they could? So you mentioned earlier, Hugh. You were saying that BDO should stick to the open world grinding aspect of the game, as like that's what it's always been good at. What do you think that they could add that would be more motivating? Because me personally, if they just continue to add another grind spot that requires 400 AP and 460 DP, I'm not motivated. Like I don't care what kind of grind spot it is. Like that's not really going to be something that's I'm going to like super look forward to. But do KR players and even yourself, do they share some of the same sentiment that like things like Altar of Blood or things like the 100 Floor Dungeon, or like they mentioned in the past Terror of the Deep, or they mentioned stuff like Thornwood Castle, or like there was things in the game that were kind of PvE related where you're still killing monsters, but there's an objective. You're preventing your tower from dying. You're trying to do something that's not just nothing, which is what most grind spots are. Do you think that that type of stuff would be popular in KR? Like, do you think you would like that kind of content?
I checked the Korean community about that, and what I saw was even some KR people want like Altar of Savage Rift. Not a lot, very few, but I saw that they talk about it. And some people talk about even PvP back to use the PvP again, the word deck, one-sided word deck. to use their gear, to flex their gear. That's what some people want, but even KR people don't know what they want, I think. It's just they all saying what they want, not what most people want. Even I'm not sure what most people want, but I think to make satisfy us with a good gear is like a new item or rare item to progress more. Back then, like devils were hard to get, right? You get one per every 3 hours, ash and creeps, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But now we are getting all the items like devils 2 per hour at Orzakia. We have a lot of devils on the marketplace, so even we cheer, it doesn't make you happy because some devils are only 200 mil. I think it's a little better after Adania because we got Crystal and Artifact. But I think those items, you need only one, right? It's not for you, it's for other players after you get 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4. That's for other players, just for silver again, right? You can still progress your gear after you got it. I think that's the problem. PA should make us endgame player should progress something more than other player. I think that will make endgame players us more happier even after they get good gear.
I see. Okay.
Was it a good answer? Sorry.
No, it's a good answer. Yeah. So, they mentioned that 100 floor dungeon thing, where it has like 100 floors and there's like a bunch of different difficulty level and you have to like progress up and it's supposed to be challenging. Does that sound at all interesting to you personally?
Actually, when I heard the first floor, 100th floor, it will reminded me another bosses again. They didn't say bosses, but it just reminded me. I think there will be bosses again. I don't think it will be grinding a dungeon. I think there will be definitely bosses. And another bosses, we already do party boss, attraction boss, boss bliss boss, and Rusalka Edania boss, and 100th dungeon again. So I wasn't that much excited about that, but depends on how they make it.
Okay.
We don't know anything about it, so that's what I can say about it.
Let's do something interesting here. Let's go around each of us and say, what would be one update from a PvE perspective that they could add? So a brand new piece of content that they could add that you would be very motivated to want to get gear for. So let's go with I guess let's go with in order here. So Grim, what piece of content could they add that would make you motivated?
Can I say something quick before we go to that?
Sure. Yeah.
Because otherwise I never get to speak.
Yeah.
So as someone who has 2 800 gear score accounts, I wanna drop something quick. And that kinda, I don't find it right. It seems like that this game main content is based on gear progression. And I find this so wrong, to be honest. It's so unmotivating. Like, they keep adding new stuff to the game. It has been like that since years. They keep adding new gear pieces to the game. Debrickers were new, Blackstars were new, and it's just a story that repeats. It's like a train that never stops. You start with the game, you get your gear, then you reach the end game, then they add more gear to the game, and then you're not end game anymore, and then you get even more gear to grind on spots where you get even more silver, and then they keep adding more gear to the game and more bosses to the game. Then you get even more gear pieces, more crystals, more artifacts, more stats, and in the end, this gameplay loop has no content, in my opinion. And this is what I see here as a big issue. Like, instead of actually bringing actual game modes, I want to play this game not just because of progression. I want to play this game because I want to enjoy this game and not feel forced like, I need to have this and this and this, to enjoy this and this content now. This feels so wrong, you know? I completely hate on that. So
Okay.
I don't know.
That
This is my
transitions.
opinion.
That transitions really well. Like, I guess we'll ask you first. What could they add to the game that would make the gameplay loop
They
better
should
for you?
add game modes. They did already a good like step into the right direction with the hardcore server, to be honest. That when you go into a server and you can compete with other players, when you die, you lose your entire gear. This is like, you know, they should actually focus on game modes: Savage Rift, Altar of Blood, Shadow Arena, PvP modes, you know, and not just grinding. And oh yeah, the silver is kind of down now, and the only way to progress even faster is only pay to win. Like,
Okay. So you think that more
they should add
game
more
modes.
game modes. Yeah, game modes that are not based on gear progression and that are not.
Oh, so you don't want the game modes to scale with your gear at all?
Yeah,
Oh, really? So, okay, but I guess the question was is what can they add to the game that would make gear progression feel like it's worth it to want to get more gear though?
they should add more things like, you know, I was really fine with the fact that when we got boss splits, they did a really good job with boss splits. I really loved boss splits, and that you actually need gear for boss splits and the gear requirements for boss splits. I really like this fact too. Like, add some more group content, and then I will be fine with that.
Okay.
Can I just interject on that? Just a little question regarding it. Do you like the Jinnaaii, do you like the like Kaphris boss and like Enslar boss and stuff like that then? With the gear
These
requirement?
ones, they're too easy. That's the problem. That's why I don't like them. They're way too easy, and they're also solo. I find solo bosses kind of boring.
So you like group bosses.
Yeah, group related stuff where you have to be in voice together and tactical make plans how to defeat this boss. You know, this is
Okay.
way more interesting than just a solo encounter.
Namiko, you were gonna say some more stuff, but let's if you want to say something and then tell us what you think would be your ideal motivator to want to get more gear score, like what could they add to the game for endgame from a PvE perspective?
From a PvE perspective, mine would be purely some kind of competitive mode in some manner. Like something that says you're this good on this class, or this person's this good on this class. Like similar to what the the shrine bosses have, but something
Okay.
that is like actually competitive. It isn't just like weekly resetting. Like something that gives like titles or cosmetics, or something that gives like some kind of drive to make you want to push for it, right? Like in that manner. So
Does that even have to
there's
be
something
new
competitive
content?
wise.
Like, what if they just made competitive where it's like get the most amount of trash loot per hour in an hour of this grind spot, and then, or is it something more than that?
No, it's just essentially some competitive element. I think competitive element gives like rise to motivation for a lot of people, at least myself. You know, if I can see that, let's say, I can compete with like other people on some kind of goal or like some kind of objective, like whether it's solo or party, just something that essentially gives like a leaderboard like status in some way. I think it's a very good motivator for people, myself included.
Okay. How about you, Verdict? What do you think would motivate you, or are you currently motivated? Because I know that you have, I think, the least gear. And are you motivated to want to get more gear in the current state of the game, or is there something more that you would like to have to make you feel more motivated to make that push?
I'm in a different predicament than all of you, and that's because I still progress. But I take everything that Namiko said and just double it, literally double it. I think a year ago I made a video about precisely what Blast Desert needs for the player that is at the extreme end game. And that video was all about let's make us players, provide ourselves with the opportunity, custom made. I even pitched the idea to Scout, and let's make a grind cup for every class. Let's have us record who the best is at grinding with the current gear score, and let's just have this competitive approach, because let's be honest, when you're at that 5% AP cap, the only thing left is, okay, how more perfect can I play so I, continue to optimize? And if you tie a social aspect to it, such as recognition over the community, such as Choice right now is grinding Zephyros mobs, how much better can he grind if he is at the cap? Because that's a competitive aspect, is what Namiko says. That personally would be a great motivator for me, because I'm a competitive grinder. And my biggest issue and grievance with Black Desert was I don't have physically the time to catch up to you guys because I literally simply don't. And I want to see that. I really want to see a competitive mode for grinding where inside this game you can make a recording, or the game itself could find a way to record and put you on the list. And it goes back to the desire for Black Shrine world ranking. It's like, so you can see where you are, so you can have that clout, you can have that execution for people to see. I think this is the only true motivator that you can have once you have the gear and you've completed it, in my opinion.
Okay. So not even necessarily new game mode, just more competition amongst the current content.
Introduce just that extra meaning for the people that have already gotten to the grind cap. Like, that's it. And I get it that right now, grind cap and gear progression are two very separate things. Yeah, that make, that's expected though. It has its own meaning in different ways. But I really want to see people push and strive for those results, because it's what we do. Everybody speaks on efficiency, and people kind of like to point fun at that efficiency, but it's what we chase. It's what we've always done. You get the gear so you're efficient, and once you get at the gear cap, the only thing that carries your efficiency is your skill with the class. And I think if we can record that, measure it, then this is so in the nature of Black Desert. It's like so BDO. I can't think of anything more BDO than this.
Okay. What about you, Grim? What do you think would be motivator for you? What kind of new
So
content?
I'm gonna have a bit of a long-winded answer because I'm very passionate about this subject.
Okay.
So personally, for me, I'm in Digi. I PvP a lot. PvP is a huge motivator for me. But what I would like to see is a return of Altar of Blood, and it's actually like a scaling up PvE difficulty like it was. So you want it to be in a way where you progress your gear, so you're able to do higher tiers of Altar of Blood, and they could even introduce bosses to Altar of Blood. They could have Caphras be one of the stages, for example. So I'd like to see that, and people can competitive who can like get the highest tier. Like you can be like, oh, it's that guy's group. They cleared level 16. That's crazy. What I would also like to see is the Gambit mode that they promised us in Audraxia, where you have you're killing the bosses and then you go and fuck with the other group and all that stuff. That's great. And I would also love to see a new mechanic, which would be like a influence of Hadoom to a region that changes every day, and that influence would allow Nighttime to be free for all PvP with a 100% drop rate. And you know how when you grind Elvia Calpheon, you have the like arena that spawns with the ogre and the cyclops, that kind of thing. I would love to see that as an open world like boss that people can fight over. So what I mean by this, in hardcore servers, you had the latent spawn and you had all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
How sick would it be if you had a Hadoom influenced boss spawn? And if you go into the arena, which is the same as the ogre spawn arena, you can only go in, and if you die, you cannot go in again. So you have everybody just congregating there. They're all grinding their stuff, and they're like, "Oh shit, the boss has spawned, dude! I want to go get it." You're all killing each other, and the guy last standing after 5 minutes gets claim on that boss, and that boss is like a guaranteed Deboreka, like a duo or something like that.
Okay. These are all really cool ideas.
These are all things to flex your gear, make you want to push your progression because you're competing with other people. Like competition breeds excellence and all that kind of thing.
And we had a
couldn't
similar
agree
thing
more.
back in the days with duel for spot. People's reason to get gear used to be because there were many people that asked you on your grind spot for duel for spot, and these people are most of the time a lot of gear, and so you kind of felt forced to get gear as fast as possible to compete with these players.
Yeah.
So we had something similar back in the days already.
Yeah, duels are definitely a motivator to me to get more gear.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just even from like a PvE perspective, I think that I also crave that. I really like leaderboard-esque type of stuff. Like Altar of Blood was my all-time favorite content, and I will forever go down as the rank 1 AOB player in NA because I had the most amount of like I went through and did Altar of Blood dozens of times, every single wave, min-maxing where these waves spawn from, how to prevent the tower from taking any amount of damage. Like practicing this stuff to get on some fictitious leaderboard was enough to keep me so invested in the content. And it was just such a different vibe from grinding. And it also had the excitement of getting up to like try and tet on armor and stuff that could be a big payday. So like the content was really, really fun and enjoyable. Um, I really think too something that would lend itself really well to I think all types of players and a piece of content that would be so good for BDO is something like in RuneScape 3 there's this game mode or this skill called dungeoneering, and ultimately what it is you are traveling along an unknown dungeon, and as you open rooms there's monsters to fight, there's fishing holes to gather food in order to make potions. Basically, you can imagine it's basically just you and 4 other players traversing through an unmapped dungeon, collecting resources that ultimately leads up to a final boss fight. So there's a life skilling aspect, there's a PvEing aspect of killing monsters, but then it ultimately leads to a final boss, which you then must kill. And the faster you do it, the better your rewards. So there's this a sense of eliteness in that you can get better and better and faster times in doing these dungeons. They're all procedurally generated. The rooms are, say there's 20 different rooms and there's 64 different, say, blocks of what room could occur. So every dungeon is unique because you could get multiple of the same room in a row or you could get a bunch of different ones. But ultimately, it's just like a really, really cool sort of PvE life skilling game mode that ultimately leads to a final boss that has a lot of skill expression and ultimately is just a spin on grinding and bossing, but it's repeatable. And I feel like that type of content could be very motivating to want to get more gear. And it would even get me into life skilling because, say, you need certain guru requirements in order to make this certain, like guru alchemy, in order to make this certain potion, and only one of your party mates has guru alchemy. Well, if you would have had guru alchemy as well, you could have made that potion instead of having to call that guy way over to you to run all the way to you to do it. Like that whole game mode could be a really, really solid motivator for me to want to get more gear score and want to make myself even more of a life skiller in order to like get involved in that type of content.
Absolutely.
Who have we not spoken about motivator wise here? Is it just Hugh?
What about Verdict? Did he say something already about it?
Yeah, he was mentioning the
Yep.
leaderboards and like grind competitions amongst
Oh, yeah,
players.
true. Yeah.
So Hugh, what
Yes.
would be your big what's going to motivate you to get to 900 gear score? What do you need to see?
Something to progress, I think. Sorry, what was the question again? One more time.
So yeah, the question revolves around what is the ultimate content that they could add to this game that would motivate you to want more gear progression?
1, 2 more progression.
Yeah, like something that would make you very motivated right now to want to progress towards. Like what's going to make you grind 10 hours a day for the next 6 months because you really want this or really like doing this?
For me, I'm not sure how other people think about it, but for me, make a difference, make a like a gap between players, making gap, like for example, upgrading gear
Mm-hmm.
or maybe new treasure item, something like that. But we are missing many of those things, right? No treasure for more than like 2 years. There's life skill treasure, but no PV treasure more than 2 years. And we cannot upgrade the items after you get like deck weapon because armor is gated. I
Okay.
think
So you want a
we need more
gap.
thing to upgrade.
You want
Yes,
more
something
things
to
upgrading a
progress.
gap between
Yes.
players. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that this is a perfect transition into the next topic, which is monetization and gamble boxes and pay to win.
Oh god.
So if they were to add more progression into the game, and let's say they uncapped armors completely, and now people could just tap for deck endlessly. I feel like it is very damaging how much free access to pay to win there is in these new gambling boxes. Ultimately, I've done the math, and you can pay to win. So in the last 2 months, you could have purchased 20 trillion silver worth of crown stones if you utilize the cooldowns of the 15 gamble boxes per bundles. And for reference, for anybody that's not well versed in how much stuff costs, 20 trillion silver is more than twice what I've worked for in the last 8 years of playing this game.
Yeah,
And
that's stupid.
they could have done that in 2 months. So in the past, you used to be restricted with your pay to win by doing like 20 to 35 costumes depending on your family fame per week. And it used to take roughly 1 year of pay to winning to reach the current gear score that I had at that time. And that was a hard lock 52 weeks. You could never really get there faster unless you were doing either inefficient things or you were, just very lucky. But now players can get my gear in 3 weeks flat. And I feel like that is a massive, massive blow to the motivation that I feel to want to get more gear and to play the game, is that if the content is nothing but grinding to get more gear, I should go grind a real life job to get more gear. That's way faster than fighting mobs. And I think that that's so damaging to how unrestricted pay to win is in this game. And I'm just wondering if you guys feel the effects of that. And especially Grim, you are a free to play player. So when we get over to your opinion of it, I'm intently curious how you feel as a free to play player. But yeah, does anyone want to take the reins first about what they feel regarding gamble boxes? Or have I scared you? Were you unaware of gamble boxes, how overtly overpowered they are? And I'm just like making note of that, or were you guys feeling it too? Like, who wants to go first here?
I wouldn't like to go first, but can I ask a question? Like, on your math, how much was it for the trillions of silver? Like, how much dollar
So
was?
for 10 trillion silver, it would cost you $28,000,
Okay.
which $28,000 is a lot of money. But in order to grind 10 trillion, like I'll actually just do the math right now for you because it's going to be pertinent.
Yeah.
So 10 trillion silver, and we're assuming that we're grinding for like, that might be more than that. So that's 10 million, that's 10 billion, 10 trillion. Divided by, let's say we make 3.2 billion per hour. That means that it's 3,125 hours of grinding. So if we take the $28,000 and we divide that by 31.25, you're essentially grinding for $9 an hour. That is how much your time is worth in Black Desert. So $9 an hour, I don't know about you guys, but in the past when I did this calculation 2 years ago, it was $33 an hour. And within 2 years, our time has been cut by more than a third. And that is what our time is worth in this game with these gambling boxes.
Oh boy.
Right. I have a hot take on this.
All right.
Go, NotNamiko. Sorry, my hot
No,
take
no.
is a little bit
Go ahead.
too hot right now.
No, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
So I feel, and this could be my ignorance onto at the first time I hear right now what Troy said, by the way, that gamma boxes are so OP. To me, of course, EU players, this probably doesn't truly apply for us because we're a region that has it more expensive. I think we actually have it the most expensive. Somehow in PA's mind, $1 is worth €1, and that's simply not true. So in our case, this is very different. I think Namiko might agree with me on that. We're not as impacted, but I have a hard time going around this argument because most people present it from the standpoint of pay to win is bad, but in reality, what they mean is pay to win is bad because I don't benefit from it. So I can agree with people on one thing. The first thing most of us probably thought, and I even have a video about this explaining it thoroughly, what Karazats did to the game was shift to the mutual beneficiary of cron stones being purchased through outfits instead of those being sold. So the person who paid to win gets silver, and we also benefit from the person who paid to win by getting cheaper crons. That was the mutual beneficiary from it.
Yep.
Right now, outfits are just simply into the possession of the person, and that is the issue with pay to win. So I would agree that is the issue of pay to win, but I wouldn't say that, having realistically being upset over a person who spends 20, how much it was 28,000.
28,000. Yep.
I don't think we're gonna have more than one or two people from this from EU. Honestly, I just can't picture this being an issue truly. And I can agree on to the fact that we're not benefiting as players from their pay to win. I think this is the issue more than the fact that they're pay to winning from that gear. Because let's be honest, they're probably shit at the game with that much spending. So it's like, that's my kind of hot take with it.
Okay. Well, what is currently the minimum wage in Europe? Or like within your
dude.
country, let's say, or like within, I guess Europe is like too broad of a term, but
Around 13 euro, I think.
Want to hear for the people wondering, I'm from Bulgaria. The
Okay.
minimum wage hourly in Bulgaria is $2.90, I think.
Okay. So from your perspective, it probably feels amazing that you're getting €9 per hour by grinding in Black Desert, because otherwise, if you were to go and take the most bare minimum job, you are probably not making more progression in that hour of, being a bartender, for example, or being working at Amazon or whatever job exactly specifically is paying the minimum wage. But in a lot of countries, like in what Jinnaaii just said, is in Germany or in, say, other parts of the UK or Europe, the minimum wage is oftentimes going to be higher than €9. And by having such a
Yeah, but you still have
low-
no money to pay to win because we have high taxes and people have family, they have to pay for food, and there's barely something left end of the month.
Yep. No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. But I feel as if pay to win going from what used to be €33 per hour is what you were earning essentially in value by grinding 2 years ago, all the way down to 9. You can see how pay to win has crept up pretty hard. And it's pay to win has crept up incredibly hard. And I also feel as if the player base hasn't been dwindling, nor has the quality of the updates gone up. It just feels like pay to win is going up for the sake of them working on other projects. And I truly feel like BDO's player base has not dwindled, and just basically what I just said. BDO player base has not dwindled. The quality updates, the frequency updates has not gone up. Where's all this extra money going? My only assumption can be that it is being pumped into other games. And it feels really unmotivating to me that my time is worth less, all for the pursuit of something that's not benefiting me. If pay to win was 3 times as much, but we were getting 3 times as many updates, I would love pay to win. But oftentimes I feel like that's not the case. And it's very saddening that the value of an hour of grinding has dwindled so quickly because of these boxes, and it almost seems like they think that we're unaware of it. In the past, it used to be a very obvious thing when pay to win was going up. They would do a whole big announcement. They would say, hey guys, we're raising the cost of vendor crons, we're raising the price of costume crons, and it was something that was mutually beneficial to the player, because now more costumes are getting listed, more people are able to buy them, and that's true. But even if these gamble boxes were listable for silver, it still is a very ramped up rate as to what we're used to. We're used to maybe a 30% increase in pay to win over the course of a year, not a 350% increase over the course of 2 years. That's just like a very, very high amount. And the amount of money that we're earning per hour really hasn't gone up that much to justify the fact that these gamble boxes are so powerful. So
Yeah, you know what not unmotivates me? Seeing people, like, I work thousands of hours for my gear, thousands of hours, and then I see people who play maybe for 100 hours have the same gear as me, but no idea about the game and act like they know everything, you know? And that unmotivates me to get more gear in this game, to be honest. When I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call names, but yeah, just not motivated.
I want to elaborate on Jinnaa'i's point. I have an acquaintance. I wouldn't call them a friend by any stretch of the imagination, but an acquaintance. See, while minimum wage in Bulgaria is very, very low, the average pay is not that bad. Of course, you cannot pay to win in Bulgaria. Not just Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Greece. It's just impossible for the Eastern Bloc of Europe. Let's say it like that. It's just too expensive. But I have an acquaintance of mine who does very good for him. And all of those outfit sales, oh baby, he buys and sells. Probably 35. He has that, and nothing brings me more joy than he's a Sork player, one of the worst Sork players I've ever seen in my life. Nothing makes me more happy than watching this guy have literally capped gear, because he is almost capped right now, and just sitting on the ground when I PvP against him with my Mystic. He just can't get up. It's just so, I don't think, I understand that the denomination of your effort is a point which you're making. But at the same time, how impactful is actually this towards the environment? That is my question. If we're gonna say, okay, look at this guy who's an absolute god in this game, and he's super wealthy, and he purchases all of that. Yeah, it's like I don't think I'm not sure if this is truly an issue. It's just those players have little to no impact, and they never probably will have an impact. Probably that's a little bit of me. I don't know, man.
Okay.
I think, sorry to interject a little bit. I think it's still an issue that we should be concerned about, because of like one or two people that aren't like mechanically able at the game, or they pay for power essentially but aren't able to utilize it. I think the point is that it's like a slippery trend right now, and how much it's increased more so is the like concern, because it could be the fact that in like a few years time pay to win goes up again like another 300% or something like this, and we're in a situation where people feel the need to pay to win, which I guess is the original point, more so than how much people utilize it on gear per se.
Yeah.
Or am I misunderstanding, Choice?
No, you're hitting the nail on the head. And not only that too, right? But I think that the landscape of the pay to win, as was previously mentioned, I'm not sure who mentioned it though, but pay to win used to benefit the free to play players through costume sales. You would get access to cheaper crons. Now, because crons are the end all be all, it's what everybody needs. Nobody hardly sells costumes at all, and so everybody is just vendor cronning. And the people that are whaling are just purely whaling for just themselves. They're not providing any value to the overall marketplace. They're not listing value packs for people. They're not listing Kama Sylvia blessings. They're not listing Secret Book of Old Moons. They're not listing anything of value to anybody other than their greedy selves, and that's it. So if Pearl Abyss thinks that the economy suggests that whaling should be to the degree that it's at, I really don't think that these gambling boxes should be nearly as widely available to purchase in such ridiculously high quantities. And they should make it where they relax the costume selling limit, or they make it much more beneficial to actually provide these types of Pearl items onto the marketplace for the free-to-play players. Because how many people would like to buy their value pack every single month for 6 billion silver, for example, or 7 billion, but they simply just can't because the cap is so low and the incentive for people to sell it is so low that nobody ever does it. So I would really like to see PA be a lot more respectful in their pay to win endeavors, in making it where if you're going to have pay to win increasing, if that is what the game economy sometimes says, hey, you used to be making 20 mil an hour, now we're making 3 bill an hour. So obviously pay to win has to scale with that. Costumes have to be worth more on the marketplace because you're just getting more. Every single solitary second, I just created inflation by killing this pack of frogs because we're printing raw silver, and there's more silver that is being vendored to through trash loot, and it's constantly inflating the marketplace or constantly inflating the game. So pay to win will have to increase over time. But if they're going to increase it, I think that they could do it in a lot more of a better way that benefits the free-to-play player some way, somehow. And it's not through these just ridiculous amounts of gamble boxes with just unrestricted amounts of pay to win.
The problem is that rich get richer, and then there's the people that grind, and it doesn't feel rewarding because they nerf Orbiter and we get less money per hour. You know, we kind of feel forced to pay to win because it's kind of unworthy to grind in this game anymore, as you said. It's $9 an hour, so you kind of feel like, isn't it better that I save some lifetime, and instead of grinding 10 hours a day in BDO, I'm gonna do some real life, enjoy my life, and just pay to win in this game, and then I'm done with gearing, done with the game, I completed the game, but just pay to win, you know what I mean? I mean, isn't their goal to keep us in their game, but with pay to win, they actually just get our money and not our time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this something I'd love to hear from Hugh? If this is something that KR share, because KR have, in my knowledge, they're very different view of like pay to win. So I'd love to know your point of view, Hugh, on this.
Yes, we have a quite different point of view in KR. We are more pay to win friendly than I think global players, because most other KR games are more pay to win friendly than oh, sorry, you hear it, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most other KR games are more pay to win friendly. What KR people are saying is actually this game is too cheap to play compared to other games. Too cheap to play.
Okay.
We call it in other way. This is a poor people's game. It's not like official. It's just what people are making fun of it. But it shows us this is a way less pay to win compared to other games. So we are still we still think this is a better than other game, but we definitely realize it's more pay to win than before, because BDO, it wasn't pay to win at all when it first released, and getting more pay to win after time. So I saw some people are complaining about it too. And some people are still saying it's a cheat because it only takes a 15K. I don't know exact amount of average money, but someone uploaded on Invent, and Invent is Korean community. He spent 15K US dollar and he got triple deck. They're flexing, not only one person, some people flexing it because it's not that expensive. They're saying like flexing, not that expensive. So after I saw that, I felt a little sad. It's just meta changed, more pay to win, but I'm more used to play non-pay to win game, not like other Koreans. That's what I think about pay to win.
Okay.
I wanna build on Hugh point here. Let me drop some knowledge for the video player. What if I told you that this is not the final boss of Pearl Abyss when it comes to pay to win? And what if I told you that historically the people who made BDO have been absolutely savages when it comes to pay to win with their past projects? Let me just drop some lore. I don't mean BDO lore, just literally real life. In the past, there's this company known as Webzen. They had an MMORPG called Continent of the Ninth Seal. This is year 2010, 2012, 13, something like this. So this game, this is where Jinnaaii Kim, the founder of Pearl Abyss, he was a part of that. Now, people who remember Continent of the Ninth Seal truly understand what pay to win is, because that game was directly purchased, directly going into it, directly you could simply pay to get the finale of that gear. And a little bit of a plot twist: the Jinnaaii Kim, who founded Pearl Abyss, was actually one of the guys who was either overseeing in some capacity the project, or he was a lead developer, whatever. When Webzen announced they had we have 5 years more of Continent of the Ninth Seal, we can't wait to deliver all of that for you. And all of a sudden, they have a very big split, and they started founding Pearl Abyss, and it's actually what is rumored to be believed that they just didn't want to make as hard pay-to-win game as Continent of the Ninth Seal. So this is like one of their disagreements, and this is how Pearl Abyss was actually founded. And I'm not entirely sure how true that holds and how aware people are, but this is not as worse as it gets, believe it or not.
But it sounds like they founded PA on a more sustainable pay-to-win method, right? They founded it more sustainably.
I think
True,
so too.
and Continent of the Ninth Seal was such a good game, and the thing that killed it is like it was the pay-to-win, and obviously that disagreement. The fact that content never got out. But if you guys want to research a little bit about that game, Webzen actually sold it to a private server because it was not rentable anymore. So you could get an idea what happened with that game afterwards. But yeah,
Wow.
Pearl Abyss can definitely be a lot more predatory. But what they did, at least at the start of their existence as a company, is oof.
Okay. So yeah, I think that I really think that the pay to win needs to be in check, and something that I was noticing about the pay to win, and the reason why I have a big problem with it too is I've mentioned briefly that if this meant that we got really good updates because BDO is now getting more money, then that's great. But if you actually look at the financials of Pearl Abyss as a company and their their quarterly reports that they do, I was pointing this out earlier. I think NotNamiko, you saw it, and whoever was reading the partner Discord there. But PA was kind of like taking massive losses in terms of their quarterly earnings, and I think that these gambling boxes being so unrestricted was a response to them losing so much money in these last couple of quarters. But the thing that kind of that really unmotivates me is I feel as if PA is taking these massive losses because they are trying to develop these other 3 games in conjunction with Black Desert. They're trying to make Crimson Desert. They're trying to make Plan 8. They're trying to make Doke V. They're trying to make these other video games, and I think that that's fine that they're trying to branch out and be a more, not just the Black Desert developers, and that's all they're known for. But it also doesn't really seem like there's a lot of inspired updates coming to Black Desert. We're dealing with Blue Battlefield delay. Adonia Part 1 was split into 2 parts, and the first week was delayed. We've got nothing but week after week after week of Orbita changes and fixes and bugged spots, and we've got quest lines where people don't even have their freaking clothes on in Adonia, for God's sake. Like, they got no fucking pants on. Like, there's just the updates that we're getting and the amount of like money that they're trying to pump out of Black Desert. There's no way that the development of BDO is their focal point with all this extra money. And it feels a little bit awful that they're ramping up pay to win so heavily, and then that money is not being, where the timelines that we're having to deal with here, where things like the One UI and Blue Battlefield and all of these updates that were supposed to come out, even Altar of Blood was announced in 2023. Where is it at? Like, this type of stuff is just delayed or never done. We've got stuff like the hardcore server, and that was content that was like done and completed, and obviously it was in some type of a beta and they needed to make some changes. And what are we, 7 months later here? Like, where is this stuff? And for a company that has 770 developers, I just really, really question how many of them are actually working on Black Desert, given the fact that 100% of Pearl Abyss's funding as a company comes from Black Desert. So I'm very curious the fact that the reason that they have the lights on is because of BDO, and EVE Online, their other game, is just taking massive losses, and these other games don't even exist and produce any revenue, yet we're dealing with delayed, buggy, and uninspiring updates and 5 copy-paste grind spots like of themselves within Adonia. Like, that's kind of where the reason I wanted to make this podcast in the first place is to just really have a dialogue about that monetization policy. Is you're asking for way too much based on what you're delivering to us, in my opinion. And I'm so curious what you guys think of this.
Well, it definitely shows. You ready for my take?
I'm ready for it.
So in an ideal world, I mean, I played MMOs for 31 years. So the ideal scenario would be it's a box cost game, maybe a sub, maybe not a sub, or an optional sub, and that's it. But obviously, it's a Korean MMO. It's going to be pay to win. And I understand why people pay to win. They don't have that much time to play the game. They want to stay relevant, or they want to stay somewhat relevant at least. Like, I get people put money into the game to essentially speed up their progression and all that kind of thing. The problem I have is there's no cap. That's the biggest thing. Like, the blacksmith boxes, you can buy as many as you want. Like, there was a reason back in like 2017, 18, all that kind of thing, that you could only pay to win so much because you had a costume limit. And they've obviously increased that over time, which is understandable. But what I would like to see instead is like an ecosystem between the pay to win player and the free to play player. Kind of like you were saying about value packs. I was going to bring that up. I would rather value packs be good value, and people who are swiping are providing for those that don't swipe for their value packs. And if we're going to go into the whole argument of like, well, gamblers like to have their boxes for gambling, that kind of thing, then if there's a 35 costume limit per week, then just give them one box per give them one gamble box per costume. They get 35 a week. Like, there's a cap. That's the whole point. If you have an uncapped system of pay to win, it just undermines everybody else.
Yeah. 100% agreed.
I do pay to win. I do free to play because I'm trying to educate people on how they can progress in this game without really putting any money in. Like, this account I'm using now, I got the game for free. I don't have a 10. I don't have anything. Like, it's completely from nothing till now. I started at January 6th and now I'm 825 gear score. And I did the season thing. The reason why I did the season thing, I want to explain that now, Choice, is because one of the problems you're going to have as a free-to-play player is you're not going to have loot scrolls. So what I ended up doing is, rather than going through the stages of progression with your gear, I thought, well, two birds, one stone. If I get all this money in season, I can also get thousands of loot scrolls. So that's what I ended up doing.
That's smart.
Just on the side of that, one thing that got raised to me previously was regarding, like, I guess, pay to win, or how you want to see it in terms of like forced spending, was the removal of character slots from the loyalty tab. So before, you could get royalties. You could get character slots through the loyalty tab, but now you can only purchase them. So
Yeah,
this was like a pretty big thing for a lot of free-to-play players and people that were just, not wanting to spend money in the game. And this is one big thing that was like kind of swept under the rug because a lot of people didn't really notice it. But it was it's a pretty big factor, especially for people that don't want to spend money in the game, that they cannot access character slots anymore. And obviously, with the amount of classes in the game and the way the game is, having more characters is obviously more beneficial. So there are some things where you have no choice but to swipe for. So it's just like a side thing about that.
Honestly, since then I don't have any new characters.
The thing that triggered me the most about that was the message, like PA scalping for $3.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing. I just Namiko just told I had no idea that would even happen. What the hell? All right.
Yeah, it was when they reworked the I think it was around the time that they reworked the loyalty shop. It was like sometimes they like snuck out and there wasn't really any mention of why or the reasoning behind it. And just on the back of that as well, the loyalty shop, we were informed previously that they were going to add alternate ways to get more loyalties to the game, but we haven't seen that outside of Pearl purchases.
Yeah, that was the alternative ways. That was the whole thing.
Yeah,
I hate to break it to you, that was the alternative way.
Yeah, that's things like this are the like we have the big issue of the loot boxes and stuff, but we also have very minor things that are like, for your average player, I guess it won't matter too much who's spending money in the game. But then, like I said, for someone who's like free to play or someone who doesn't want to spend money in the game, they literally just can't get more character slots anymore. So
I mean, honestly, I find it a fine idea that they added premium outfit boxes to the loyalty shop. It's just that it takes like 5 months or 4 months or something to just buy one outfit box,
Not if you buy pearls.
True.
No, I actually don't really love the idea that they mingled loyalty with monetization. The entire point of a loyalty system is free progression, free stuff for logging into the game and playing the game. The fact that they even added loyalty to Pearl items and then they also removed the character expansion coupons, like, come on, PA. You're already giving people the option to whale 30k to get in-game gear. Like, do you really need to get little Timmy's lunch money when he's just trying to make a fucking mystic? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's a scalping, right?
Yeah, I think it's you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Hugh, but I think there's quite a few Korean games that give you reward for spending money. I know that there's a game that I play called Eternal Return, and they do the same. So I think it's PA going down the route that other games are going down as well, where you get bonus like items given to you for spending more money in the game to incite more swiping. Because it's like Hugh said regarding Koreans that are mentioning that BDO is like the poor game because the other options available, like things like Lost Ark and things like this, where you can spend significant amounts of money, and they've got content tailored towards people spending money, like side real weapon, I believe they're called. Basically, is an item designed for a whale to be stronger than you, no matter what you do in the game. So that's the like dangerous part, and that's something that I hope doesn't come to the game, where purchasing of currency, like premium currency, results in you getting something that you cannot obtain otherwise.
Yeah, that's the true definition of pay to win right there. But it still feels I always want my time in Black Desert to feel valuable. I want to feel justified in my actions of spending dozens of hours grinding. And as pay to win creeps up more and more and more and more, it starts to become less. It starts to just feel not the same. Like the fact that people can just take what I have and spend hundreds of hours trying to accumulate, and they can just, with one swipe of a credit card, they can get exactly to where I'm at. At least in the past, it used to be a year before they could get where I'm at to where I am, or where they are to where I am. But now it's just literally they're just such unrestricted access to these boxes, and I really think that they should take a step back and think about the long-term monetization of this game, because any game that ramps up their pay to win so heavily ultimately starts to collapse. And I know that Pearl Abyss's strategy, as outlined in their quarterly report, is that they're focusing on making new video games. But I think that Black Desert, personally, I think BDO is their best chance of being a popular or like continuing to be a good financially sound company for the next decade, not these other projects. I really don't think that Crimson Desert is going to carry BDO for the next 10 years. I think it's going to be Black Desert. And the more that they harm it, the more that becomes less of a reality. So I think that they should really, really hear the players and not make those mistakes that they made in that last company that Verdict was talking about. And they should, read the room. You're 0 for 1 PA on your secondary game releases. Shadow Arena completely flopped. And, Crimson Desert, you can hope to make a profit off of it, but that game is not going to be popular in 10 years from now. Nobody's going to be playing Crimson Desert in 10 years, but people will probably still be playing BDO in 10 years if you continue to care for your golden goose. And don't strangle your golden goose in order to try and hope that you're going to give birth to the second golden goose type of thing. Like, I don't know. It just seems like PA's got to be very careful with ramping their monetization. And
I miss Shadow Arena, dude.
Apologies, guys. Can I have a closing remark because I gotta go?
Absolutely.
Actually, gotta leave.
Yeah.
Not only would I milk that goose, I would put a choker on it if I were Pearl Abyss. Honestly, it's just that I have a little bit more wishful thinking when it comes to this. I think that the future of Pearl Abyss depends on the good impression of Crimson Desert's release, and they know this. They also know that Black Desert is not something that they can full-blown focus on and make it into a product which yields more, because obviously they tried to do this in the past and it hasn't really been the most successful, but we have a stable community, and that's the important bit. I understand why they're doing the pay to win right now. If I have that wishful thinking, like I kind of do recently adopted, it's a new thing for me. People in the past know I was very negative and critical of PA. But I'm like, you know what? Crimson Desert looks absolutely stunning, and I would love to see that game succeed, even if it comes at the cost of our reception right now of the pay to win. But let's be honest, will they tone it down if Crimson Desert's success? No. They're not gonna touch. It's not a thing that's gonna happen. But thanks for having me, guys. It was fun. It was very fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you for
Thanks
joining
for
us,
being
Riddick.
here,
Wow,
Verdict.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
So there is a really good solution to the whole blacksmith box thing.
Okay.
And another MMO does this, because the general idea of MMOs is an MMO will come up with an idea, and another MMO will take that idea and make it better. So Guild Wars 2 has a system where you can exchange your in-game currency for the paid currency, which is the gems. It would be really sick, actually, if you were able to actually spend silver to buy pearls with other players. And that's capped on a weekly cap, just like the costumes. Because then it goes into the ecosystem between players rather than just this ceiling of just spending thousands and getting nothing from it.
Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of
I
games
honestly
actually do that
think-
too. Even
I
RuneScape
honestly
does
think it's somewhere a communication error, like a communication mistake. Because like since I met them in real life, at HueHotBar, I noticed that like almost all of them, they can't speak English, and they have their biggest player base based on English. And I think it's better for Korean developers just simply to listen to Korean suggestions instead of English ones. But they should get, in my opinion, if they have issues in understanding us and misunderstanding our suggestions, or that they don't even reach them, in my opinion, they should just get, they have the money, right? They have the money. They should just get more translators for their company, who, hire more translators, so we get our actual feedbacks into the game, because people say so many things. We have so many podcasts going on between streamers, but nothing is happening. Nothing. And I think
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
communication error.
I think it's kind of interesting because the people that I speak to who play Korea have the complete opposite view. They believe that Pearl Abyss listened to the West and not the Koreans. I don't know if you can enter this as well. I don't know if the people that you speak to or like fellow Korean players have the same kind of view as well. But when I was like browsing Inven previously, it was a very common thing where Korean players felt like their server was just a test server, and that the West is like the loved server.
You asked me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of true. KR people are right now very upset because of bug, and KR server feels like becoming totally test server. Like we had emergency maintenance like 4 weeks in a row, and like extension, we usually don't get extension maintenance, but extension maintenance too. And that's why KR people got some compensation, like Chromestone compensation. But KR people are very upset about it. And people already know this game is... some people are already saying this game is more popular in global than KR. So this game became more global based game or a global focus game. So I actually checked some people are complaining about it. And I actually asked that to Wansu too. Global peoples are like I asked Wansu like why you did some patch. I don't remember exact patch content, but I asked her why you did patch. Is it because of global players that want it? Wansu said no, it's not. It's just for all the players want it.
So if
I think that's all I
KR
can say.
thinks if KR thinks that the West is being listened to, and the West thinks that KR is being listened to, does that mean they're listening to
Yeah.
nobody? Like, who
Yeah,
are they
that's
just
what-
doing whatever
dude,
they
that's
want?
literally
Like,
literally about to say that.
Once you said they listen everyone. Once you said they listen everyone.
are their headphones plugged in, or like what? I don't know. Who are they listening to?
Even I
Listen-
don't know.
Listening to themselves. Pat on the back.
Okay. Well, this podcast has been going on for quite some time already. The last topic that I really wanted to talk about was there's recently some changes to like the node war caps, and I wanted to like talk a little bit about the PvP scene.
All right, 2 hour node wars. Let's go.
Yeah. So, how has the PvP scene been over there in EU, Namiko? You're very on the pulse with it. How's everything been going?
So I recently went around the like all the top leaders of all the European guilds, like the Siege guilds, the Node War guilds, to try to get like a little bit of breakdown for them. What I'll do is I'll post something in the group chat real fast. 1 second. Because it'll be much easier than to try to explain it.
Is there
But
still
pretty
that
much,
cringe PV alliance over there?
we do, yes, we do still have that
Oh god,
lovely,
why?
lovely alliance that locks out our
Yeah.
nodes and stuff like that.
Fantastic.
Wait, let me try and find it. So I'll throw it in the chat right now. Oh, it's not gonna let me for some reason. But pretty much, there's a very general consensus right now that the current meta in Black Desert isn't the most liked. This is because of the DP meta. I don't know how it is over in NA, but right now there is a very big issue where DR builds, tanky builds, are generally just very obnoxious right now. So a lot of the members in Europe are opting more towards occupation because occupation, you don't
I
have to
open
deal
an
with
RTF
those
file chat.
DR players or the base rushing, and because kind of the way you play it right now is that you essentially just rush your enemy base, right? That's the most optimal way to play. And when it comes to Europe are completely obsessed with optimal PvP, right? Fun comes second or third or fourth, and optimal winning is like the rank one way of essentially winning, right? So what we have right now is I can take today's example. Today we had 2 of our strongest guilds in the region, and the start of the node war happened. XO3, they rush each other's flag factory to delay the flag placement, and then body throw recovs, and then result in body throw bases. As soon as you leave your base, the enemy guild runs in. You try and proxy with the ally guild. The ally guild can't really proxy because they just run straight past you because everyone's too tanky. You can't assassinate people anymore. They run into your base, burn your buildings.
I think he's gonna have to
you're out of the node war.
TLDR it.
So construction node war right now is not really liked by a lot of European leaders or Europeans in general. If the meta was changed, if it was not a heavy DR meta, then potentially construction would be much more enjoyable. But the general consensus right now is that occupation is the more consistent one, I guess, for fun for people. So, but yeah, this document I sent is pretty much just a breakdown of what some of the top leaders, what some of the top players say. Like, for example, the current issues with cannons being irrelevant. So I don't know if you guys know that a few weeks ago or a few months ago, cannons are doing tremendous amounts of damage. They were like completely soloing your fort. I think it was like 5 to 8% damage on flame towers.
I remember that.
Yeah, crazy damage. Then they nerfed them, and they're kind of a joke right now. Cannons, they're basically CC bots, and similar to like the elephant as well, with the elephant being so dominating for such a long period of time, and now it's kind of just you see it, you focus it down, it disappears in seconds, right?
Thank
So
God.
it's like doesn't really exist. Yeah, but it's a very good tool to use though, right? Right now it feels more like just a meatball kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was shared across was when it comes to Siege, for example. Node War not as much, but more specifically on Siege, is that right now in Siege, 1v1 in a castle is like a complete miserable experience because of the tankiness of structures and how strong recovery centers are. So when it comes to like any kind of pushing a castle, if they're able to keep their recovery centers up or they're able to hold in certain areas, you can't really push rebuilds, because rebuilds, once they get past like 30 or 40% progression, it's very hard to take them down. And in general, if they're able to just place the recov, they're able to actually get the reduction by default. And if you've ever pushed a castle, it's a very miserable experience if they're able to hold certain chokes, like Valencia Castle. if you're pushing the tent and you can't V through to get to high ground and take roof, it's a very unfun experience. So that's kind of like a TLDR, pretty much, of how it is in Europe. Europe really want this DR meta to be changed, because then they'll be more, encouraged to take that construction approach. But a lot of people right now are sticking to occupation because of the fact that you don't have to worry about your base being running 24/7, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. I would definitely agree. I think that there's just way too much tankiness in the game, and it's gotten to a point where I actually prefer cap node wars just because I know that I'm as tanky as everybody else, and everybody else is as tanky as me. And the thing about uncapped is, it just seems so, yeah, just like people running around with too much tankiness, and it's not fun just running into these unkillable balls where every single ball fight lasts like a minute long. It's just like throwing abilities at people. There's no tactics. It seems like whoever has the more sustainable ball fight. So I definitely don't like that uncapped stuff. But I'm curious as to why occupation feels better. Is like, how is occupation better than?
It's more consistent. So a lot of the feedback I got was, right now, for example, there's the benefit of the no need to Diplo. So if you're a leader and you have to set up fights because of the difference in strength between guilds, so it's very difficult to try to arrange certain fights. Because we had a moment where I don't know if you know about the PvE Alliance. It's a group of guilds that are handshaking to lock out nodes. So they will place as soon as it's available, and they will just take out multiple nodes or specific nodes. And this means that then the PvP players cannot access those nodes.
Yeah.
So we have like one node done. Yes, it's incredibly frustrating. We had the same before, where they were queuing up for occupation and they were spawning more nodes on occupation before the changes came in to enable them to get the node wall buff every single time. But right now, the reason occupation is more enjoyable is because you don't have to worry about your base being running 24/7 by these DP players or by the enemy guild just rushing your base. Because the meta right now in Europe is literally, you focus fire the flag down so they can't take offensive plays against you, and then you take their recovs, and then you just burn their buildings down.
Should not be an easy fix for that. The whole
Hmm?
PV Alliance thing, an easy fix for that is if you plant stick as a guild, you can be one-side decked.
That was a recommendation from one of our top guilds, that if you are participating in node wars, you should be deckable without rejection.
You just go fuck them up the whole week, don't matter if they have a buff or not.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But that's pretty much the reason why Europe's kind of split a little bit. Like some of the leaders want construction to be better, but right now the meta is just not fun for construction. And then you have other people that like occupation more because of the way that the design is. That you don't have to care about your base, and you don't have to care about Diplo. You don't have to arrange anything. Because our region has a problem of, there's a big, I don't know if it's similar in NA, but the rank 1 guild, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4 have like very big spikes of strength difference, especially on different numbers as well.
Yeah, it is like that too.
So occupation kind of alleviates that in a sense. But then you've got the whole issue of occupation with the entire problem of it feels almost worthless sometimes if you've held the fort for like 57 minutes. And then Bob from down the road with his 2 friends takes it from you in the last second and takes all of your effort that you've done for the node war.
That shit's so dumb, dude. There needs to be a point system.
If it actually lasts 57 minutes. That's my biggest problem is like, we had a node war that was really good yesterday and it ended in 27 minutes. Everybody still wanted it to keep going, but it just was like, yeah, sorry, your fun's over.
One of the nodes I spectated a few weeks ago, one of them was a 10-minute node, the other one was like 15, and I believe the uncapped, the question mark node ended on the 20-minute, 4-second tick in Medaya or something like this. So it was pretty much every node was over in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of PvP guilds that were on the nodes, so it would have been like a really, really good region to like, have a really good fight, but then you have a 10-minute node and like a 15-minute node, and then you're like, okay, cool. So
yeah, I mean, like the saying goes with this games community, is we complain about not having PvP, but we do everything possible to avoid having PvP. That's really weird.
that is
Like if people
that is
weren't
a very
being cringe as
consistent
fuck
thing,
with the constructions, then you'd be able to get an hour.
That's the problem with Europe. Europe have very, very, very determined. I don't know if it's the same in NA, because when I played NA, you guys like to fight more. I don't know if it's still the same now. That was like around a year or so ago. You were a lot more opting into fights where
Yeah.
our region will sit on ballistas, our region will sit on cannons, our region will sit 12 miles away from your base until all your structures are dead, and then rush you down in one go.
Yeah, we're not
So-
like that.
Yeah,
A
there's
lot
ball
of-
fights and then hit base.
A lot of our setup fights will exclude certain cringy shit like that. Like they'll just say like no out of zone cannons, no like certain restrictions on things. Some fights have no cannons at all. It's just
That's
like
kind of crazy.
yeah.
No, Europe are definitely. I don't know if you want to call it like more try hard in that manner, but they will just use anything in any way, shape, or form to their advantage to win, which is why press W into bases is the most optimal way to win, right? You know, you take the flag down, they can't play offensive anymore. You take their recovs down, and you just slowly like suffocate them out of the node wall. So,
Dude, I will
Whether
take
it's
a
fun or
one-shot
not,
meta over this DR shit any day.
yeah.
I think that the
uh,
one shot meta, like me personally, my own perception of what I think balance is in this game is I feel like the perfect amount of tankiness that somebody can achieve is in a 1v1, the ability to barely get one comboed in a perfect combo. And if that's the level of tankiness that a player has, I think that you're successful. You really can't balance it based on large scale PvP, which is what kind of feels like right now. Because if you can get one comboed by one particular player, you will die pretty quick in large scale PvP. But now you can get to such a point where you're so tanky in this large scale PvP that like the tanks, they can live within the ball for such an incredibly long amount of time. And because DR scales so heavily, it feels like you only ever have to build, like you have to be building a level of DR or else you're just trolling. And there's very few players that can actually build full glass cannon on certain classes. And I just ultimately think that the amount of DR that you can gain, the amount of evasion even, because evasion can still be a problem too, should scale down heavily to the point where players should still, if they make tactical mistakes and they get CC'd, they should be able to die. And maybe what they need to do is they need to raise it where during super armor you are massively more tanky in order to control for larger scale and like the chipping of fights and make it where CCs cause people to start burning. But I feel like, yeah, like there's got to be something where while you're CC'd, it's stripping some of your DR or something to promote a more healthy gameplay. Because right now it just feels way too like you can't go wrong with this meatball build.
Yeah,
There's,
we're so much more protected nowadays too.
Yep, no, I completely agree. One thing that gets raised a lot when it comes to like large scale PvP is like things like vacuums and how impactful vacuums are on utility classes that are able to build DP. So, you know, it's not necessarily about killing people or things like this, and it's very, very oppressive classes are tanky and are able to like keep your main ball in one area and things like this. So vacuums are, I don't know if it's, I assume that you guys in NA also despise vacuums too, but
Yeah.
they're very hated in the Europe.
Everybody hates vacuums.
Yeah.
What
They're hard
about,
pill to swallow. Go ahead.
What about the release of like PvP modes? Like, what was the perception of hardcore server in EU? Like, did you guys like hardcore server? Or?
Hardcore became just a silver farm. So one thing that a lot of people did in the hardcore server was as soon as hardcore server came out on the first day, people were fighting. You know, they were running around. After like the first few hours, people realized that if they just run around and fight, they will actually not make that much silver from it. So what people started doing is they started queuing at same times together and holding certain grind spots together. And if anyone attacked them, they would just group up fight them, and they would essentially lock down certain areas and pretty much focus on the silver an hour in the grind spot. Well, grind spot I call it, but it basically was a grind spot. So the hardcore element of the PvP part of it kind of disappeared very quickly because people realized that this is a tremendous amount of silver, and PvP. As Grim said earlier, PvP players are some of the worst for wanting PvP. So
True.
Let's see.
that's basically what happened
I
to our
wanna
region.
I want to say something quick, Many people might actually think I'm poor PvE play and stuff like that, but that's not true. I do PvP just off stream, And I do have some opinion about specific game modes that are actually very unmotivating to play. And I feel like PA did put so much effort into this to make them somehow nice to the game, but I feel like the only reason why people only play this is because of the rewards. Look at War of the Roses. War of the Roses is actually such a crap PvP mode. Sorry when I'm saying it like that, but it's so bad. It's so unmotivating. Like the whole system, that one side is just so much stronger than the other side, and okay, I'm on this side. Okay, I'm on this team. Okay, I'm against I know that my guild will lose, and I'm just not taking it serious. I'm not taking serious PvP buffs or something because I know I'm gonna lose, And the only reason why this game was even alive is because of this Rotarian horse. Before Rotarian, this game mode was like legit dead for like 3-4 months or something. And like after I got my horse, I will never play War of the Roses again, to be honest. Like not even mucking or something for it. And I feel the same about this new Edana Throne PvP event. When I look at how this entire signing up system works, I have to wake up. Okay, my time zone is a little bit scuffed, but I have to wake up at 2 a.m. to know if I'm chosen or not. And then I see people just winning off because they're too tanky to kill them, and they just win off by their gear score is a little bit unfair, Like they all win off by their gear score, by their level, by their HP, and it's not really. This new game mode just feels like a joke, to be honest. I don't know. It's just my opinion, and same I feel about this construction node war. I am not like this is now the second week we have this construction node war in NA because the guild leader of digital has a ban and he can't change it. This entire community is forced to play this ugly game mode because of one guy is banned. This is another thing, like I'm signed off from Node War now for 2 weeks because of that. Because this new system is just bad. I don't like it.
Yes.
Can I interject regarding War of the Roses? So there was we have one very strong guild, or alliance rather, on our region called Happens, and I was speaking to the guild master essentially, or the alliance lead, regarding War of the Roses. His comments regarding it was the fact that the problem with War of the Roses is that a lot of people don't want to try to fight War of the Roses, that they don't really care because the loser bag is still too good. And one of the big problems is that regions like Balanos give you a lot of points, which obviously cater towards who will fight in War of the Roses and things like this. And it should be, and the suggestion they gave was to make it focused more around guilds that will own uncapped content, which will encourage more people to fight uncapped. Because right now we have War of the Roses is, if one of our top guilds don't take castles, it's pretty much going to be 2 guilds that one of them will probably not even turn up a lot of the time, and the other one will just steamroll them. And we don't have a situation where we have 2 guilds that want to fight for it because of the amount of points that, like, for example, Balanos gives, because you don't really want a Balanos guild to be one of the leaders of War of the Roses, right? Because the difference of experience, the difference of, like, the approach in general, right? So that was just a little bit of the regarding War of the Roses is, in our region, like, the Happens Alliance pretty much steamrolls whoever they're against. Right, if they're on Camasylvia's won, pretty much, in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
so.
we have the same thing right now with and Shameless.
I just think War of the Roses is not a very good game mode in general. You could put 2 very evenly matched guilds, and I still think that it's just nothing but riding your horse around and killing Monster Simulator. Like, there's such a small amount of fighting that actually goes on compared to, like, just PvE objectives and backdooring. I don't know.
Yeah, the backdooring thing.
It's more running than PvP in War of the Roses. It's just simply as that.
Like the very first War of the Roses we had on NA was Ethereum versus Cho, and it would have been a banger fight, but then Cho backdoored the first node and it ended within like 15 minutes. Like, I don't understand why you can backcap. I think it's really stupid and counterintuitive. It should be a lane-based system, just like League of Legends or something. You push your lane. That'd be so much more
Yep.
entertaining.
In Europe, we've had really good War of the Roses fights that were basically back and forth constantly in the middle nodes. Like, really, really, really big fights. A lot of people really enjoyed them, and then you take point one, and then you've lost.
Yeah,
Like-
it's again, like, for a community that wants PvP, we do everything we can to avoid PvP. Like, backcapping that node just killed the whole mode, and it's over.
For myself, my favorite War of the Roses was when neither guild got picked, and it was like a big RBF.
Oh, that was fun.
That
That
was
was,
the
yeah.
most enjoyable one.
that happened in NA one time too, and that was actually a lot better.
Yep. But I just
just
wanted to
think
cover the
it'd
part
be,
again on War of the Roses. So
I just think it'd be a lot more better received if it was a tug of war kind of lane push thing. You can only hit
Yep.
queens if you push one lane fully.
Yep.
Yep.
100% agree with that. Yeah, I've heard also too, like the recent changes to the capped scene. It's a lot tankier than, and it feels like maybe things are
boy.
too tanky. And a lot of people are complaining about the fact that it's just like, it almost seems like capped content is getting the same complaints as uncapped, where people are just too tanky. I think that people just like a faster gameplay style. They,
Yeah.
they just don't want the tankiness.
Capped content in our region was viewed as like the most enjoyable content for quite a long period of time. Because you weren't too tanky, and you didn't have really many problems. There's obviously outlining classes that would just, tap you and stuff like this, but it was a generally positive experience from majority of the people, from what I gathered. When like asking around leaderships and stuff like this. But then this change came in with the minus 100 accuracy and increased DR, and it kind of didn't really make much sense on why they would change this. And it resulted in a lot of people having a very good experience, and then also others just having a terrible experience now. Like, the gap between classes is significant now. So, if your class is able to just annihilate evasion and things like this, you're just like Sucksage, for example, is supposed to have like tremendously high performance, like Hash and things like this. Like, there's a few classes that are just very, very scary on cap now. They were still scary previously, but now everyone's tankier. These classes like take over now. So
Yep.
it went from a pretty solid, consistent, fun mode into now everyone's tankier. So
That doesn't even make sense. Didn't they say they want to make nerf the rock meta and they know everyone's gonna feel so tanky and stuff like that? Instead of making them squishier, they make them more tanky. Like, doesn't make sense.
all I could imagine is if they
I don't even
received
feel like
negative
they
feedback.
nerfed some crystals, right? Last week, I think, was it, or that week before? And that crystal nerf, like that, they grouped some DR crystals differently, so we have less DR equipped, like DP meme builds. I feel like that did not even make any difference. It's only like, we have 10 DR less, but that doesn't mean that they nerfed the rock meta, right?
No, the rock meta is focused around the Jin crystals, realistically. So
Yeah, so to
I have
address the
something.
elephant... Go ahead.
Okay, I want to wrong meta. Because of wrong meta, I want to say something. When there was a wrong meta update on lab patch note, do you guys know that? That was like 2 or 3 months ago, I think. One KR streamer asked me, what is rock meta? They were wondering, because in KR, we don't say that word.
Oh.
Because we knew it. We knew it. DR was good, but it wasn't that much a serious problem like NA or EU server. Why do you think it wasn't that much serious problem compared to NA and EU server? Because I'm not really sure, and that's why they asked me. DR meta, like 10 people go to Enemy Forge, and they like just sit there.
Maybe it's because of what everybody was saying regarding just people just want to win overall. Like, they just do what's effective. Like, it's very, very common for NA guilds to not do its most fun, but because I guess winning is the fun objective, they just like want
winning.
to win.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the same in Europe as well. Yes, like Europe, some people will swap classes. They'll run this full DR build, and you'll have like 30 to 40 people in a main board that are like near immortal. So
I see. Thank you.
So the big question is, how do you fix the rock meta? You cap the Jin crystals. What else?
It's kind of hard to say because when the thing is it's always evolving, right? Like if they nerf the DR meta and they nerf the rock meta, then it's going to be like a ranged glass cannon or something like meta like this, right? Because we already have ranged classes that are overperforming right now, and that are having like tremendous amounts of kills. So
But the
I
thing
think tuning
is,
down or capping in some manner is good, but then we have to be mindful of what will skyrocket afterwards. So
if you have a one-shot meta, you can outplay people. Can't outplay people that are made of rock. That's the big difference.
that is true, yeah.
But there's
Like,
outplay
I'm
potential, which is
yeah.
the whole point of PvP, is to outplay your opponent. You can't outplay somebody who has 6 gins and doesn't die.
The thing is if I look at balance and stuff like this, I also want to try to cater in the people that like enjoy the support utility element of the game, right? Because I mean, I'm a like killer. I play like glass cannon blaster classes. So for me, like 60R crystals is like the worst kind of gameplay in the game. But then there's also very support-esque players that do enjoy that kind of like utility role. So we have to kind of make it so it's not mandatory for like a large number of people to run something, but also at the same time it's still enjoyable for the ones that still do want to take that kind of playstyle. And I don't really know myself how you kind of approach that other than tweaking it bit by bit and then finding like a nice sweet spot, I think. So
Yeah, like Choice was saying about how you can build tankiness where you can frontline push, but like if you're in for longer than 10 seconds, you need to dip or you're going to die. That seems like a healthy balance, and that would be capping the gins at like maybe 2.
Yeah, I think that 2 to 3 gins, there's like no more needing for that. Like from a Zerker player, if I put in 2 gins, I have to be playing like a fucking idiot to die, even in large scale. Like you have to be doing some really stupid stuff to die, especially with 3. Like if you're building 6, like we're talking just hands off the keyboard mode. Like it's just ridiculous how tanky you're getting with that. So
I think
2
it
to 3 would be okay.
I think it comes down to sorry to talk over you. I think it comes down to the super armor damage reduction as well, which is a big factor to take into consideration. Because some classes you can like run DR crystals, but they are like significantly squishier or like more vulnerable in general than like we're looking at like Striker or classes that have like was it 25% damage reduction in super armor, 20%. So there's like we can nuke the DR crystals, but I think the super armor damage reduction that they added to the game is either something that needs to be streamlined across the board or something that needs to be looked into in general.
I'm more of a fan of tankiness. Like, okay, you know what? Interesting, actually. What if they made it where these DR crystals, they actually raise the amount of tankiness that you have in super armor? Like, what if that's what it actually does? And so that way there, if you get CC'd, it's like you didn't have it at all. But if you're still on your feet, like it just is like something that makes you tankier while you're playing well, but you're actually mortal if you get CC'd.
You can even have it to increase your frontal guard amount too.
Yeah, frontal
That's
and
a good
SA.
idea. Yeah.
I think that could be a good approach. Because you should punish bad gameplay. And right now it feels like you just can't punish that. And especially that would also help with like the people diving your fort, because the moment they get CC'd around a flame tower, well, that DR is not helping you anymore, right?
Yeah, seems like a really solid solution, honestly.
Yeah, I think people just want to move away from this being able to just walk past an enemy raid with half of your raid into the base, and there's like nothing you can do against it. Like you just have to watch them walk past you because you can't kill them. So
yeah,
it's very frustrating right now with the with how tanky some people are. So yeah, something like that would be good.
Yeah, I mean the FTs would, like you said, FTs would prevent the whole diving bases and blowing good things up because you'd get knocked back by the FT and then you don't have that protection anymore.
Yeah,
you're squishy. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's good.
Anybody else want to talk about anything regarding PvP issues? Kind of touched a bit on war decks. We've touched a bit on like node wars, sieges, a little bit of hardcore server. I would personally like to see the hardcore server come back, by the way. Just like I genuinely enjoyed it. I played it in the way that it was like intended to be played, in regards to just running around, PvEing a bit, getting my gear up, killing players along the way. I basically got 10k points every single day, and half of it was PvP, half of it was PvE type of thing. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I think that I really hope that PA didn't scrap it because they put in a lot of work to just throw away. I don't think they can afford to scrap it. I think that there's not enough content in Black Desert that is so unique that is not grinding for them to just completely get rid of hardcore altogether. So I really hope that they bring it back in some way.
Did
Did you
you enjoy
guys,
getting locked into an arena with somebody that you couldn't win because you'd lose points regardless?
Well, they fixed that eventually, kind of, sort of.
Eventually.
But yeah, that was a little bit rough.
Do you guys have the issue that we have where people just logged in, grouped together, and then just farmed points and left it? Or was that ever
Yes.
like a
They
big
were,
issue?
those were known as
Yeah.
the dogs. Yes, we had a few,
Oh, okay.
dogs, yeah. But it was still okay. It was still fun.
Hugh, how was like game modes like hardcore server and stuff like that viewed in KR? Like, was that things that they enjoyed?
I actually checked the KR community about hardcore server. They liked it because because it was good money. That was all I saw. Not many people enjoyed it because of PvP content. Very few, I think. Very few enjoyed it. And I asked my global viewers to probably I think most people liked it because of silver per hour there, not because of PvP. PvP player only few liked it. Isn't that like a most people think?
Classic.
Yeah, it
is.
seems to be the general thing. Yeah.
But what is
I
wrong
think
with
same
that?
in KO.
I don't know what's wrong with that. Like, I don't know about you guys, but even on the days where I didn't feel like PvPing that much, it felt kind of cool to just have something that wasn't grinding. I think it was kind of like grinding, but it kind of wasn't grinding. Like and it was really fun too to be able to get straight up gear upgrades as a drop. And so it felt kind of like a fun form of grinding that also was good money an hour. So I really like it even as a grinding game mode, even if it is just that.
The biggest gripe I had with it was the buffs were way too strong on launch, and it was like very detrimental to PvP each other. It got better over time though. Also, how do we feel about consumes in RBF?
Yeah, consumables in RBF create a very, very huge advantage.
Like, I feel like they should just be on the vendor when you go in, 1 silver, go have fun.
Yep, 1 silver vendorable consumes. I like that.
You lose more money than you gain money from RBF when you pop your own things there.
Also, this event that we have for RBF, oh god, please make it permanent. Like,
it should
right
be
now,
100%.
RBF feels like actually somewhat it feels rewarding to play on a day-to-day basis without being overpowered in any way. Like, I like it a lot.
It would be nice if
get
there
your
was
buffs. And they need to get rid of Valencia and make it Castle Runes.
I also would like to see removal of people who are just queuing in and pressing W and just dying because we're limited on the amount of slots that we have in RBF now. It's like gone down than previously. So in Europe right now, just earlier today, joined one RBF and it was like 7 or 8 people just pressing W on the red team. And obviously because there's so few numbers now, it basically means that you have a situation where one side is just being spawn camped. And there's nothing really you can do. So
it could definitely make it more performance based. I think that would be good, and it doesn't have to be performance. Especially Valencia City RBF, they can make it performance based on like number of caps, time on the point, you know, kills, damage taken if you're a DP player, like I don't know, damage mitigated. I don't know, just like metrics that are not just KDA to make people actually want to play the objective. I think that would be a very good thing to make it more performance based rewards rather than just like a flat reward.
What about what about AOS gear capped RBF?
Yeah,
they tried capped RBF before, I believe. Like it was a thing that we had before, and it was like completely dead, from what I remember. But that could just be RBF in general.
that was a thing in the past. It is true. However, see, I'm a bit torn on that because we just got done talking about how there's very little things in this game that make it motivating to get gear, and RBF's like literally one of them. Like being able to actually have the gear and go PvP in RBF.
Yeah.
So if you start adding in capped RBF, the uncapped RBF just becomes incredibly unpopular because more people are going to be joining the capped RBF. And as much fun as capped RBF would be, I just think that PA does a really bad job of incentivizing uncapped PvP, and I don't think that they would incentivize uncapped RBF properly to make it not dead if they ever added capped RBF.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
also
there's a
like the
reason
idea.
AOS is so popular, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I personally like the idea of moving more away from capped content and more into uncapped to incentivize more people to want to push gear. Because capped content
that's fair.
is it's very good. Like I still think there is definitely a place for capped content in the game. Like I think it's very accessible for people and stuff like this. But I think the most popular game modes, at least in my opinion, should always be the uncapped content because it would encourage more people to be more competitive in that manner.
Yeah, I just want buffs on the vendor, dude. I don't want to have to pop 10 build to win an RBF. It's stupid.
I mean that'd be nice, yeah.
Agreed.
What do you guys think about politics setup fights?
I
Are you
think
guys
it's
a fan
good
of
if-
politics? Or do you like more random, more?
do you want to go first, Grim? And then I can go afterwards.
Yeah, so politics are a way to prevent big guilds shitting on little guilds. It's a way to set up a fight where it's fair for everybody. Because if you have just this free for all thing, you end up having like, well, I would say Cho, but you know what I mean. Go around and just shit on all the new guilds, and it demotivates them to actually want a PvP. Whereas if you actually set up the seeds, because we did this a lot on Ethereum as well, you set up like number 1 seed and number 4 seed against number 2 and 3, and then both sides have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the best fights that I've ever
yeah.
had are ones that were unscripted, but they're so rare that you kind of just have to script them in order to make it fair for everybody. Scripted as in like who's on the teams, not the outcome. But yeah, it's really tough to. But the fights that we've had where it's been like, say, a Rise versus Soaked, or like two guilds that are like somewhat on the same level and they can have a good fight together. That's always really fun, placing on like an uncapped node and like, oh shit, wait, it's a 1v1? This is sick. Like stuff like that is cool, but it's so most of the time it's not that. Most of the time it's like, uh-oh, we're against Digi. Prepare thine butthole. Like it's just like, it's just over. So I think that the politics are there because of a need. Like it's just that's required.
I can speak from leadership and Diplo point of view. Previously, when the game, like many years ago, you wouldn't really know who was on what node. You wouldn't really script anything, at least in Europe. And you would place on a node, and it could be the fact that there is a snipe on the node. There could be a weak guild on the node, a strong guild on the node. You didn't really know until it started, which resulted in some days where you'd have 3 or 4 days in a row where you place nodes every single day and you wouldn't have a node war. So for a lot of guilds, it started to become a little bit tedious and obviously very demoralizing, when everyone else is having fun and you're sat there against some like snipe that got placed on last second, or no one turns up to the node and stuff like this. So at one point, guilds started like handshaking and agreeing on Diplo to make it so that there was like content pretty much throughout the week. The only problem is with Diplo is it kind of controls the scene. And if you aren't part of the Diplo, you just get completely nuked, right? Like, let's say there's a 2v2 being placed and you're on that same node, you're dead, right? All the 4 guilds are going to attack you. Yep. And it can definitely make you feel like you are forced to Diplo, because realistically you are.
Yeah.
But Diplo overall is very good for having consistent fights with the top guilds to make sure that you actually have a set amount of content a week. But the downside to it is that you are like tunnel visioned into it, because if you're not part of the Diplo, then you don't get those fights, you don't get the deals and stuff like this, right? So it's got good and bad edges. I personally, from a past Diplo point of view, I personally prefer it more, because it does enable you to set content for certain days. Like, you can arrange 1v1s with this certain strong guild on this day, or you can have a large fight on this day. It just adds an extra level of complexity to node wars in general. So depending on what kind of guild you come from, or because it essentially requires you to have a Diplo, right? So it needs a role in the guild that isn't needed before, and now you need a representative. You need a backup representative. Essentially, you need to make sure communication's clear and all this kind of stuff. So it adds an extra level to PvP, which some people prefer, some people don't. But I personally prefer it. I think it's very good.
Do you ever think that a mixture of construction and occupation could be a thing? So like tier 1 is always occupation. So guilds just fight each other and learn how the node wars works and everything.
Isn't that
and
how
then
it is
tier
right
2
now?
onwards. Is it?
Yep. Yeah, tier 1's always occupation.
Oh, I haven't been back to the scene very long.
Yeah. T1 is always occupation whenever it's chosen as construction. So T1's actually pretty
Alright, that's
popular
sick.
here in NA. How popular is T1 in EU?
I'd have to take a look at the data. I think there's several guilds that plays consistently every day. Our most popular nodes, I believe, was tier 2. I think we had around like 20 odd guilds, I think. Or like 20 alliances rather. Or I think 18 alliances. I have to check the screenshots, but tier 1 was very popular originally. Like many months ago. But I don't quite know what happened. I think a lot of the tier 1 guilds started to step up a little bit and move to like tier 2 scene. But I'd have to fact check that for you. But it was very popular at one point. It was like one of the most popular modes. But then I think people have kind of stepped up and gone to the tier 2 scene. But then obviously that's been gutted now. So I've seen some guilds step down. But I saw at one point, I believe in NA, like you had some of your strongest guilds on tier 1. I think like Cho, I believe, like back when I was watching TVOs, I think before. And like some really strong guilds that went down to tier 1 at one point. But
Sometimes.
I don't know how it is right now for you two guys. Is it just very popular in general? Like, do you guys prefer tier 1 because of the numbers, or
You know,
I don't like the HP cap.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks that I was paying attention to it because we were on occupation, not construction. There was like 13 or 12 guilds in both T1 regions. So like there was just like 25 guilds in T1s, which was kind of crazy. And this last time
Yeah,
I saw it, there was
many
maybe
people sign up only for the rewards, though.
yeah, but like the guilds that I was reading, there was definitely like a lot of competitors, so like a lot of people were playing, like actual guilds showing up.
do you think it's the cap or the numbers, or what do you think incentivizes
just-
people to go tier 1?
Probably just the lack of Diplo, really. I think people just want to go in
Hmm.
and brawl around, and just it's very accessible. So it's. I really think that this current occupation game mode could be so much better if they just did a couple things to it, but they're just very unwilling to do anything to it. And you know, it's popular in its own right, and that's a success on PA's end. But also at the same time, like it does suck when guilds that previously would have done the Diplo just are locked into these like lower tier, or like you're locked to these occupation nodes, and it just ends so quick. It's really just the ending of quick. And what happened to 2-hour node wars? Didn't they talk about doing something like that, like back in Heidel or Kelfion Ball?
They did,
just
yeah.
never
It's
did it.
been a long
Yeah.
time.
The interesting thing about 2-hour node wars is there's a kind of a split in Europe right now. There's some people that hate the idea of 2 hours, and there's some people that love the idea of 2 hours. But that could be interlinked to the DR meta right now as well. So because body frame for 2 hours for a lot of players is very rough. But then we had situations like a few days ago, we had a very good like 2v2 or 3v3 that ended because it was 1 hour node war. And if it was 2 hours, it would have been a really good, long fight. And like 4v4s can get set up, and 2v2s where you can have that proper 2v2, and then you can have a 1v1 after. But sadly, these kind of things don't happen on 1 hour node wars. So depending on, I guess, how you view it in that sense, because some people do like it and some people don't like it. So I don't know if you guys are split in the same manner.
We have plenty of nodes, so I don't see why we can't have some that are 1 hour, some that are 2.
I'm like split on it too. I like the idea of a 90-minute node war. It's like just long enough, but not long enough to drag on.
Drag on these?
Yeah, exactly. But
I think it would be nice if occupation had a set minimum limit rather than an increase of like 2 hours. I think it would be nice if occupation, all these 10, 20, 30 nodes for occupation were just removed, like that you couldn't have a 10-minute node and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I think it's very silly. But
I still like the idea of a point system more than I like the final, like whoever owns it when the question mark runs out. I've always liked the idea of like, say a region, I was using this as an example yesterday, but Medaya has, say, 8 different nodes. And let's say that there's 3 guilds that are participating in this particular node. So this means that there's 1 node of those 8 highlighted at any given time. And then every 10 minutes, there's escalating points, and the node flips to a different one. So it's like, first of all, the first node is highlighted. Let's say it's at Abandoned Iron Mine. And then whoever owns that, every second they accumulate 1 points. But then after 10 minutes, it flips to the next node, which is another random node. Let's say it's at Sawson's. and all of a sudden you're getting 2 points per second that you hold that node. And it sort of just like flips every 10 minutes, and the node can last, like the node lasts like a guaranteed, say, hour and a half, for example, of just constantly doubling points, flipping points. And then all you'd have to do is just like every 10 minutes, every single guild gets given a complimentary flag, or maybe there's like some, set safe zone spawn or something. I don't know, just like to make that whole process of like running to that fort when it flips a little bit less annoying. But I feel like something like that could be more rewarding to the player, like more objective based gameplay. Because the problem with occupation, and maybe this is something that doesn't happen in EU as much as NA, but like we were in a node war where nobody touched the stick like at all. We were just like fighting around and just ball fighting, and nobody cared about the objective because it doesn't matter. You could just like let somebody just sit on the objective forever, and it's just like at the end of the day, you're just sort of predicting when the thing happen, when the question mark's going to run out, and up until that point, it just doesn't matter whether you have the question mark at all. So
Oh no, most our nodes are our forts are taken like almost instantly at every single node. There's always someone that will go and yoink the fort. There are people that play around it. Like the most optimal way is, if it's a 19-minute node, you want to start pushing the node at like 18 minutes, right? 17 minutes, 18 minutes, get it low, and then obviously flip it, and then pray that you're the one that flips it, so the people can't take it back. Like that stuff that happens obviously, but usually when a node war starts, you have certain guilds that run to certain nodes, and they will take those and they will try to sit on those as best as they can.
Well, that's
I think
the ones
occupation,
that are time, though.
like you
That's the
said,
question marks, yeah.
Oh yeah. But the question mark is usually taken by the strongest guild, and then they just sit on it and hold it. And then what they do is, if no one fights them, they go join the other fights, and they force themselves into the fights.
Yeah, that happens here too.
Yep. But the occupation, I think a point-based system is the best approach because, like I said before, it's a very awful feeling that you've done like, let's say you're fighting 1v2, you got 2 guilds pushing you, and then the 3 guilds pushing you, and your guild is playing like super well, you're like farming and you're defending it, and then like 30 seconds before the node ends, you lose it and you don't get anything for it. Like realistically, like you don't get the win. And this is like a very unfun feeling because you still get your PvP, you still get the fun in PvP, but there's that kind of like little extra missing, which isn't a really nice feeling of, oh, we've held this off. We've defended against all these people, we held it, we won, kind of thing. And I think that's where the point system would be very nice. Because you look at Siege, for example, and you have really big fights in Siege, and you don't necessarily always kill the other guild, but because of the fact that you've won, you played really well, you've got a lot of structures down, you pressured them all the time, and you win on points, it's like very satisfying feeling. And I think something like that in occupation would be a very good thing too.
Absolutely. How do we feel about the new caps, by the way? Because we've all seen the Hunter clip of him fully comboing and doing 20% health.
Oh, I despise the new caps as a witch main. I cannot kill anyone,
so
I'm very against it. It's the 100 accuracy and DR increase. I don't think they should have even touched tier 2 cap. I think tier 2 cap was in such a nice place. Obviously, you're still going to have classes that are the meta and still going to be stronger than other ones, but I think the tier 2 cap was so comfortable and so enjoyable for people, and now they've just kind of shot it for no reason. Like it just feels like out of the blue change that nobody asked for.
I agree. I think that it should be reverted back to what it was. They weren't even solving a problem. They're like, oh yeah, guys, Tuvala Timmies can participate in node wars. We can't have that. Like that was their whole justification. Like who cares if you can reach the caps in full Tuvala gear, then you can go ahead and reach the caps. Like it doesn't change anything. Whether Timmy can reach the cap in 1 day or 1 week, like it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, just the cap change. I would love them to revert on Friday. Like they would be very good because the capped content is loved by a lot of people, and it's kind of the stepping point from where people are not as experienced in PvP, and they can potentially step up into more PvP. And now it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just very, very bad feeling, especially if you're playing certain classes. It's very discouraging for you to play capped right now.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. Okay. Does anybody have any closing remarks they want to say about anything, and something that maybe we didn't talk about that you wanted to really get off your chest for this particular podcast?
I think we covered a lot. I appreciate you setting us up and everything.
That was a
I'm
good
saying
no,
time.
but,
nothing about life skill.
appreciate
It's
it.
not like I would like to talk about life skill, but I did not mention it. Don't mention it at all.
Yeah, we might have
Oh
to
yeah, true.
circle back to life skilling because it's already been 3 hours and I'm feeling like it's already a very long podcast.
I love my 4 a.m. dude. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care about life skill anyways, but I don't know.
But no, it's pretty much. I think it's been a really nice talk. It's been nice to have a proper discussion. I think one of my personal complaints about podcasts is that they often end up becoming complaints, and it's just arguing and back and forth. So it's been really nice to actually have a good chat, a good conversation with people who can express themselves. So it's been really enjoyable for me personally.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. I had a great time. I hope that Jinnaaii, Hugh, you guys had a good time too. You guys happy you joined?
Yeah, it's always interesting, of course, to hear other people's opinion, especially from other streamers.
Yeah, it was
To
interesting
hear
for me
them out,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, hearing other streamers' opinion.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate y'all for joining. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I don't know how long you guys expected this to last. I thought it was going to be 2 hours. Jinnaaii said there's no way it's 2 hours, and she was right. So here we are. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.